Chapter 356. Lin Jun sneered when he saw Bajio pouncing over. How could he let Bajio's plan succeed when the battle had reached this stage? If he self-destructed during the comet stage, the power would be comparable to a nuclear explosion. Lin Jun would never give him the chance to do so. He raised his hand and released the gravitational force again. Bajio's body accelerated under Lin Jun's gravitational force and rushed to Lin Jun's side. This broke the rhythm of his self-destruction. In other words, he reached Lin Jun's side before the time of his self-destruction was up. Lin Jun raised his hand and lashed out with his spear, striking Bajio's abdomen. Boom! Bajio's body fell to the ground and his self-destruction was interrupted. Lin Jun flew down like a meteor and quickly caught up with the seriously injured Bajio. Bajio's current state was probably the weakest he had ever been. Not only had he been hit by Thunderkill, but he had also suffered a heavy blow. What was more serious was his heart. He had been living well in Iceland, but Yen Huang had encouraged him to lead the ascetics out of the mountains and conquer China. If he had succeeded, there would have been nothing left to say. However, he had failed, and he had been defeated by a young man like Lin Jun. He was completely disheartened at the moment. Otherwise, he wouldn't have thought of self-destruction. Looking at the hopeless look in Bajio's eyes, Lin Jun could have killed him with one shot. However, Lin Jun didn't do so. Bajio wasn't a bad person. In his previous life, he had led the ascetics to destroy a mid-sized fleet of extraterrestrial civilization. Lin Jun had seen that battle. Bajio had been the leader. His battle of light was indeed very powerful. However, in this life, Lin Jun had been reborn and his butterfly wings had changed too many things. Bajio and the ascetics had left Iceland in advance and suffered heavy losses during their conquest of China. No matter how strong Lin Jun was, he couldn't eliminate the other experts on Earth. When the extraterrestrial civilization arrived in the future, these people would be the main force against them. Therefore, he had long since made up his mind to use Soul Lock to subdue Baho, a super expert in the comet stage. However, this was definitely not going to be easy. If it weren't for Yen Huang, this noob teammate, holding him back, Lin Jun might not have been able to defeat Bajio alone. Moreover, Baho was a mid-diamond level telekinesis master. His willpower was extremely strong. It would not be easy for Lin Jun to lock his soul. Only at this moment, when Baho was completely disheartened and heavily injured, did Lin Jun have a sliver of hope. Therefore, while Yen Huang was still running away, Lin Jun didn't have the time to care about him. As long as he took Baho, Lin Jun was confident that he could find Yen Huang and deal with him. His spiritual power locked onto Baho, and the two of them fell into the yellow sand on the ground. Fortunately, no one followed him. Everyone could see that Lin Jun was going to win. Now, everyone's attention was focused on dealing with the rest of the ascetics. Baho, do you know what you've done? Lin Jun asked. Baho glanced at Lin Jun blankly. He didn't even think about resisting. He just muttered, "The winner takes all." What is a crime? Lin Jun said disdainfully, "Chief Judge Baho, don't you feel guilty? You ascetics came out of Iceland and raged in the northwest base city of Huaxia for an entire day. Not only did you destroy a lot of infrastructure in the northwest, but you also killed countless warriors and city guard. Can you afford to pay for this?" Baho's face was a little red. This was indeed unjustifiable. Lin Jun continued, "Baho, to think that you're the former Holy Son of Light of the Vatican. I'm afraid you've completely forgotten what the Vatican's doctrine is. Could it be that your doctrine is conquest and plunder? Look at what you're doing now. What's the difference between you and bandits? You've lived for hundreds of years, but you've become a thug and a lackey. Whoever wants to believe in the doctrine will believe in it. If they don't, they won't believe in it. You want people to lower their heads and have to believe in it? I think you've been living like a dog all this time." Baho didn't agree with the East expedition at first, but he couldn't stand Yen Huang's repeated persuasion. Plus, there was Xu Mingxuan's promise. These things moved him, so he left Iceland and got involved in this mess. Now that he was being scolded by Lin Jun, he couldn't take it anymore. He wasn't very thick-skinned. Lin Jun, what's the point of saying all this now? You've won this battle. The winner has the right to give orders. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't talk nonsense. Killing you is easy, but the crimes you've committed are hard to make up for. Baho, are you still thinking about the arrival of the true God army in the future? Are you still thinking about how you'll be able to gain a foothold in it and go to the stars in the future? You know all this? Baho was stunned. I know a lot of things. If you want to know, I can tell you. Lin Jun's soul lock enveloped Baho silently. However, when it entered Baho's mind, it was immediately met with strong resistance. Baho's mind power was about the same as his. They were both mid-diamond level. It was too difficult to lock his soul lock. However, Lin Jun had his ways of persuading him. He started to tell Baho about the extraterrestrial civilization. Lin Jun lived in the stars in his previous life. He knew a lot about the outside world. Everything he said made Baho yearn for it. The true gods in the stars, you know, are just powerful people. They're just powerful people from another civilization. As long as you cultivate with me, I'll bring you into the vast stars in the future. I have many tricks up my sleeve. I can survive in the stars and live a good life. Those people you believe in are bandits on Earth. If you follow them, you'll be doomed eternally. As for the so-called God's messenger, I've already killed him. As long as we have more power than them, we're also gods. Every time Baho's mental strength showed signs of resistance, Lin Jun would use words to tempt him. She would even violently throw a punch at him, leaving Baho with bruises all over his body. She would never give him the slightest chance to resist. Baho, who was seriously injured and disheartened, was slowly attracted by Lin Jun's words. He yearned for it, and his mind resistance became weaker and weaker. About 5 minutes later, Lin Jun's mind power was released at full force. Baho, wake up! Crack! Something seemed to break. Baho's long-held belief suddenly collapsed. He lost his mind. Lin Jun seized the opportunity and successfully locked his soul lock in one fell swoop. Seeing Baho's confused eyes turn to sobriety and worship, Lin Jun was excited. He did it! He successfully locked the soul lock of a Comet Stage Master and a mid-diamond level mind reader. Without a doubt, Baho belonged to the top group of masters on Earth. If he was willing to challenge the star list, he would definitely be a member of the heavenly star list. Now, he had become Lin Huang's subordinate. He would be Lin Huang's most powerful assistant. Lin Jun. Master? Don't call me Master. Just call me by my name in the future. Okay, Lin Jun. I seem to have understood a lot of things. I've been deceived in the past. There's no such thing as a starry sky true God. There's only an endless cultivation civilization. That's right. This is the current situation we're facing. Too many people have been deceived. Give the order immediately for the remaining ascetic monks to stop resisting. If this continues, they'll all be wiped out. Baho nodded and shouted to the sky, all of you, give up resisting. Lin Jun also flew up and said to the Huaxia martial artists, there's no need to fight. The battle is over. The leaders of both sides gave the order at the same time. Everyone present was relieved. There were only 20 ascetic monks left, while the Huaxia martial artists were in a better state. There were only slightly more than 40 of them left. The rest were buried in the yellow sand. Lin Jun flew into the sky. There's no need to fight. The leader of the ascetic monks, Baho, has admitted defeat and is willing to surrender with the ascetic monks. The battle is over. The people who were almost exhausted stopped fighting and descended from the sky. Since there was no need to fight, they really needed a good rest. Brother Lin, it's all thanks to you. Lin Jun, if it weren't for you, we would all be finished. Huaxia would also be finished. You've saved Huaxia once again. Yes, we all owe you our lives. Lin Jun, I'll listen to you from now on. I'll do whatever you say. These Star Realm martial artists, who were high above, all expressed great kindness to Lin Jun. At this moment, Su Na excitedly said to the camera, "Fellow Huaxia citizens, I'm very happy to announce a piece of good news. The battle to protect the Northwest has finally come to an end. We've won." Lin Jun's rescue at the critical moment played a decisive role. More than half of the invaders from the Vatican were killed, and the rest were persuaded by Lin Jun to surrender. Of course, they have to atone for their crimes after surrendering. We'll leave all of this to Lin Jun. I believe that he will seek justice for Huaxia. I believe that after this defeat, the Vatican will no longer be a threat to Huaxia. Therefore, I'm extremely excited to tell everyone that we've won. Let's cheer. Those who are in front of the TV or mobile phone, please open your beer and kiss the people around you. Let's celebrate to our heart's content. Looking at the excited Su Na, who was dancing with joy, the dedicated cameraman next to her couldn't help but say, "Su Na, will you continue to be a host tomorrow? You just said that this was your last report." "Did I say that? Even if I said that, I was just joking with you. Haha." The dignified host laughed in front of the camera. Her enthusiasm infected almost everyone. The huge rock that had been pressing on their hearts was finally removed, and the clouds in the sky dispersed. Lin Jun had once again performed a magnificent feat with his actions. If his previous actions had won the hearts of the people in Bingqing, then this time, he had won the hearts of the entire Huaxia. Baho also gathered the ascetic monk. Lin Jun didn't have time to care about them now. After Baho's soul was locked by him, he would never betray him. He was very relieved. What he was concerned about now was the direction that Yan Huang had escaped in. Chapter 357. Lin Jun looked at the people who were celebrating, and his heart was not calm. Because Yan Huang had to lock Baho's soul, no one stopped him, and he ran to the east. He had a feeling that something bad had happened in the east. Lin Jun took out the astral observation mirror from his spatial ring. The astral observation mirror was a super high magnification telescope that could even see the situation outside the solar system. Lin Jun flapped his lightning wings and rose into the air. He went straight to the atmosphere and used the astral observation mirror to observe the situation in the distance. Lin Jun stopped at a place where the air was thin and picked up the astral observation mirror. He was stunned. About 500 miles away, Yan Huang was fighting someone. His opponent was the Grand Master of the Church of Divine Grace in the capital Bay City, Su Mingyue's master, Gongsun Du. Both Gongsun Du and Yan Huang were in the meteor stage, but Gongsun Du couldn't withstand Yan Huang's violent attacks. Lin Jun saw with his own eyes that Yan Huang swung the light fiend and cut off one of Gongsun Du's hands. Gongsun Du lost a hand and finally couldn't fight Yan Huang anymore. He turned around and ran. Yan Huang didn't chase after him. Instead, he took Gongsun Du's spatial ring and took out a shining stone. Yan Huang placed the stone on his starry sky crown. Lin Jun immediately felt Yan Huang's aura skyrocket. Oh no! This guy is going to break through. He's going to enter the comet stage. Even Lin Jun had to admit that Yan Huang was definitely a genius. Lin Jun was confident that he could suppress him when he was in the meteor stage. After all, Lin Jun's dark star was also in the star realm. Coupled with his quasi-star realm Dantianqi, it was enough to fight Yan Huang. However, if such a person entered the comet stage, coupled with the light fiend and starry sky crown, he would definitely be stronger than Lin Jun. The vast and mighty heavenly light from the astral crown descended. Bathed in the intense light, Yan Huang broke through very quickly. In just a short while, he had completely entered the week of comet. His aura surged to an unparalleled level. He turned around and charged towards the desert once again. Lin Jun hurriedly descended from the sky and said to Baho, "I saw that Yan Huang found a stone from Gongsun Du and embedded it into the starry sky crown. He has already broken through and reached the Comet Week realm. Furthermore, he is rushing back here. What's going on? When Baho heard this, his expression changed. Oh no! Yen Huang found the holy light stone? What is a holy light stone? That's the main stone of the astral crown. With this stone, the astral crown is complete. The user will have an endless stream of astral power and holy light support. The astral power is unimaginable, especially since Yen Huang has comprehended the power of light atoms. It's almost impossible to resist. Is he really that powerful? Of course. Lin Zhen, hurry up and leave. We're exhausted now. If he comes, it'll definitely be a massacre. Before Baho could finish his sentence, a streak of light rapidly approached from the horizon. Ah! The heavens haven't forsaken me, Yen Huang. The holy light stone is actually in Gong Sun Du's hands. Moreover, this guy actually wants to participate in the battle. This is equivalent to giving the holy light stone to me for free. This time, none of you will be able to escape. An enormous amount of astral power surged in this direction. As he flew, the clouds spread to both sides. It looked extremely terrifying. Lin Zhen turned his head and immediately said to Jin Qichao and the others, "All of you retreat. Don't stay here and continue fighting. The current Yen Huang might not even be able to fight against an ordinary heavenly star ranker. Numbers won't be of much use to him." The people who were celebrating a moment ago were stunned. Yen Huang had actually come back for the kill. Seeing that Lin Zhen had beaten up Yen Huang, two Heavenly Realm martial artists didn't take Yen Huang seriously and took the initiative to greet him. "Come back quickly!" Lin Zhen shouted anxiously, but it was already too late. The corner of Yen Huang's mouth curled into a sneer. The fiendish light in his hand was destroyed. A beam of light descended from the sky and instantly vaporized the two Heavenly Realm martial artists. Light's judgment. He can use Light's judgment alone, Baho said in shock. "Retreat quickly. Get as far away as you can." Yen Huang was already close. He waved the light fiend in his hand and waved it at a row of flying machines in the sky. Noisy flies, so annoying. The beam of light appeared again, and the row of flying machines exploded with a rumble. Only a few of them survived. At this moment, the people realized that things were not good. They all fled in different directions. Baho originally wanted to greet him, but he was pulled back by Lin Zhen. "Go quickly. I'll hold him off." Baho was Lin Zhen's treasure. Although he was strong, he was now seriously injured. He definitely couldn't fight Yen Huang head-on. When Yen Huang saw this scene, killing intent appeared in his eyes. "Great, my Lord Inquisitor. I've only left for a while, and you've actually colluded with Lin Zhen. You've actually betrayed the Vatican. To think that I trusted you so much. Yen Huang, you've been tyrannical and tried to use force to conquer the world. I've been deceived by you before. Now I've come to realize that your evil deeds will never succeed. Childish. I now have great strength. Those who follow me will prosper, and those who oppose me will die. What can't I do? Since you've already betrayed the Vatican, then die together with me." He waved the light fiend in his hand. Only now could the light fiend unleash its greatest power. This top-grade sacred artifact was indeed powerful. He could finally use it freely today. Light's judgment blasted down again. The astral power contained in it was as vast as the sea. "Open!" Lin Zhen appeared in front of Light's judgment and blasted out a thunder kill. The dazzling energy caused a violent explosion. The whole world seemed to be shaking. Lin Zhen was blasted into the desert by Yen Huang's Light's judgment. "Ah ha ha ha! How's that, Lin Zhen? Now you know what true strength is. What are you waiting for?" Lin Zhen directly gave Baho an order. Baho couldn't resist Lin Zhen's will. He flew into the sky and led the ascetics into the distance. However, these people didn't go too far. They were still worried about Lin Zhen facing the enemy alone. They watched from afar. Even Su Na's surviving aircraft was still filming from afar. Yen Huang wasn't in a hurry to chase. Instead, he looked at Lin Jun like a cat playing with a mouse. In his opinion, as long as he got rid of Lin Jun, he would succeed. Lin Jun's body slammed into the yellow sand, but the next moment, he appeared behind Yan Huang. Lin Jun wanted to test the strength of Yan Huang, who was in the comet stage. Spear thrust. The death scythe was swung and slashed. The raging light spear, a mid-grade sacred artifact, was cut into two by Yan Huang's slash. After all, the difference in quality was too great. A mid-grade sacred artifact couldn't fight against a top-grade sacred artifact. Go to hell, Lin Jun. Our enmity will be settled today. The death scythe was swung like a windmill. Large groups of saber light attacked like a storm. After losing his weapon, Lin Jun wasn't discouraged. He used his mental power to drive the 7/7 star sabers to attack Yan Huang from all angles. How can these things stop me? What a joke! Yan Huang swung his death scythe, sending the 7-star sabers flying everywhere. He rushed in front of Lin Jun. Take this. A sword suddenly appeared in Lin Jun's hand. It was a top-grade sacred artifact sword. It was Xu Mingxuan's sword. Yan Huang sneered. It's useless. The death scythe slashed across Lin Jun's chest. This attack almost shattered Lin Jun's sternum. His chest was immediately mangled. Large mouthfuls of blood sprayed out from Lin Jun's mouth. Lin Jun's sword only left a small wound on Yan Huang's body, causing his body to tilt to one side. In terms of absolute strength, Yan Huang had now surpassed Lin Jun. However, Lin Jun didn't care about his wound at all. Instead, his mind moved. Space cut. A black spatial rift appeared beside Yan Huang. Yan Huang hurriedly adjusted his body to dodge again. Lin Jun used his gravity to force Yan Huang to crash into the spatial rift. Puff. Blood splattered. Yan Huang's body was cut in half from the middle. His entire body was cut in half. The death scythe formed by the light fiend floated in the air. The two halves of the body floated in the air and hadn't landed yet. Lin Jun's mind relaxed. His vision turned black and he almost fell from the sky. That was close. If it weren't for his spatial rift being impossible to guard against, he would have lost the battle. Even so, he had suffered an unprecedented injury. Yan Huang's attack had taken away half of his life. The people in the distance who hadn't left hurriedly rushed over to Lin Jun. They wanted to see how Lin Jun was doing. Su Na's camera was still filming in the distance. She was urgently reporting to the national audience. Things changed just now. Yan Huang, who had escaped, suddenly came back. He became even stronger. Fortunately, he was still not stronger than Lin Jun. He was killed by Lin Jun. However, our hero seems to be injured. We are going to check on him now. The surrounding people were rushing over to Lin Jun. Only Baho was shouting in horror from a distance, "Run! Don't come close. Lin Jun, you should run too. Otherwise it will be too late." Why? Lin Jun was on the verge of collapse. He looked at Baho in confusion. Wasn't Yan Huang already dead? Be careful. Look at the starry sky crown. Be careful of his immortal body. What? Immortal body? Lin Jun was shocked. He looked at Yan Huang again and realized that the two halves of Yan Huang's body hadn't fallen to the ground. The starry sky crown on his head was emitting a strong light. It was still daytime, but there was a large amount of star power pouring down from the sky. CSI. The dazzling starlight made people not dare to look at it directly. Yan Huang's body actually closed up miraculously. Yan Huang's eyes suddenly opened and he let out an earth-shattering laugh. Wahahahaha! Immortal body. Baho was right. With the support of the complete starry sky crown and the recovery of the light atoms, the person who carries the starry sky crown has an immortal body. Lin Jun, you do have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. You were actually able to plot against me even when you were at a disadvantage. However, you would never have thought that I have an immortal body. Let's see if you can take my next attack. Light of Judgment. Chapter 358. Facing Yan Huang's baleful light, Lin Zhen was a bit annoyed. At least half of Yan Huang's current strength came from his starry sky crown and baleful light. Weapons were also a part of one's strength. Lin Zhen couldn't do anything about it. Moreover, Yan Huang's strength was at its peak, while his injuries weren't light. Lin Zhen couldn't continue fighting. He flapped his lightning wings and retreated. Yan Huang chased after him. No one is allowed to follow. Everyone leave. Lin Zhen roared. In fact, no one could keep up with their speed. They turned into two streaks of light and disappeared into the horizon. The two quickly flew through the clouds. Lin Zhen's most important task now was to shake off Yan Huang. The lightning wings had 4 times the speed of sound. In addition to Lin Zhen's own speed, it was about the same as Yan Huang's speed. The two of them quickly left the desert area and headed straight for the western continent. Lin Zhen, today, even if I have to go to heaven or hell, I will eliminate you. Yan Huang's face was ferocious. The baleful light in his hand would occasionally attack with a blade of light. In his opinion, Lin Zhen's injuries were severe. He would catch up and kill him sooner or later. Because he was wearing the starry sky crown, it could provide him with an endless supply of astral energy. He would exhaust Lin Zhen to death. Lin Zhen made use of the lightning wing's agility to dodge to the side from time to time, letting the blades of light pass by. He was indeed heavily injured. However, if he were to fly, Lin Zhen could last for a long time. His flight mainly relied on the lightning wings. Moreover, his dark star could provide him with an endless supply of astral energy. If it weren't for the wound on his chest that couldn't be treated, he and Yan Huang could have chased for a year. Lin Zhen didn't just fly above the clouds. That would be too conspicuous. He lowered his body and flew at a low altitude. A headquarters city appeared below. It was the Paris headquarters city. Lin Zhen lowered his head and descended from the clouds. He arrived a few dozen meters above the headquarters city. He passed through the buildings and used the buildings to avoid Yan Huang's pursuit. You want to get rid of me? Dream on. Yan Huang also followed closely behind Lin Zhen and rushed down. Hoo-hoo! On a lawn in the park, 2 people rushed over with a wave of air, causing a person who was exercising to be swept up more than 10 meters into the air and hung on a big tree. Swish, swish. The more Lin Zhen flew, the more dangerous it was. In front of him was a fast food restaurant. Lin Zhen directly rushed in from the revolving door on the first floor. A gust of wind blew, and he directly flew out from the back window. Yan Huang, on the other hand, was much more violent. With a wave of the baleful light in his hand, he broke through the wall, causing the deaths of several innocent mortals. In front of him was the Eiffel Tower. Lin Zhen passed through the Arc de Triomphe and went up to the Eiffel Tower. His body flew in a curve, using the steel of the Eiffel Tower to block Yan Huang. These are all useless. Don't waste your time. The fiendish light danced wildly, and the iron tower collapsed with a rumble. It did not obstruct Yan Huang in the slightest. Instead, the scene of the 2 people chasing each other at high speed was captured by many people and posted on the internet. This also made people feel even more disgusted with Yan Huang. This person was called the Pope, but he did not care about human lives at all. There was a clear distinction between martial artists and mortals. As long as a mortal did not provoke a martial artist, even the worst martial artist would rarely take the initiative to harm a mortal. It was just like how a normal adult would never find trouble with a baby. But Yan Huang was different. After obtaining great power, he could no longer control himself. His attitude of, "Those who follow me will prosper, and those who oppose me will perish," was very obvious. Regardless of whether they were warriors or mortals, those who blocked his path would be eradicated. This also made the people of the Divine Church feel even more alienated. More and more people quit the church. The Holy See was almost dead in name only. Lin Zhen also saw that it was not realistic to use the various terrains of the base city to avoid Yan Huang. He simply rose again and continued to fly west. The two rushed out of the range of the Paris-based city and soon reached the coastline. In front of them was the vast Atlantic Ocean. Lin Jun did not hesitate at all. Like an arrow, he shot to the bottom of the sea. Yan Huang also dived into the bottom of the sea. The two of them maintained an extremely high speed in the bottom of the sea, leaving behind 2 lines of water as they flew. However, he was at a slight disadvantage in the underwater forest. The surface area of the Thunder Light Wings was relatively large, and the resistance underwater increased, causing his speed to slow down quite a bit. On the other hand, Yan Huang did not have such a great resistance, and the distance between the two of them was slowly closing. A huge monster fish swam over. Lin Jun moved forward in a curve and dodged the monster fish's big mouth, hoping that the monster fish would be able to stop Yan Huang for a while. The light fiend in Yan Huang's hand rampaged. It emitted a light blade in the water and directly cut the monster fish in half. Damn it! Even an SS-grade marine monster can't do anything to stop him. I guess a quasi-SSS-grade monster would be useless. Only a real SSS-grade monster would be able to do it. However, SSS-grade marine monsters were rare. They were predators at the top of the food chain on Earth. Even the experts on the Heavenly Star list were not willing to provoke SSS-grade monsters. The two were getting lower and lower. They were already above the seabed. Lin Jun moved through the coral reef, using the terrain to shake off Yan Huang. However, Yan Huang used his absolute speed to close the gap again and again. A huge humpback whale swam in front of them. Lin Jun was pleasantly surprised. He threw a throwing knife over and cut a small hole in the whale's body. The whale angrily rushed over. Lin Jun dodged, but Yan Huang also dodged. Although this guy was a lot more violent, he was not brainless. He wanted to kill Lin Jun now, and no one could stop him. Phew! I can't go on like this. My injuries are a bit serious. He will catch up to me sooner or later. Where else on earth can I shake him off? Lin Jun quickly thought. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration. Got it. I'm really stubborn. I actually limited my own thinking. Why must it be on Earth? Earth is not safe no matter what. Flapping his thunder light wings, Lin Jun quickly rose into the air, leaving behind a trail of water as he soared into the sky. Pu. The two people shot out from the bottom of the sea like cannonballs. The group of mutated seagulls in the sky were shocked. They wanted to attack Lin Jun, but they were frozen into ice sculptures by a throwing knife and fell into the sea. Seeing Lin Jun in front of him soar into the sky again, Yan Huang laughed loudly. His voice surged from behind. Lin Jun, have you run out of tricks? The crowd can't help you, and the sea can't help you. Where else can you go now? There is not even a shelter in the sky. It is not suitable to be your grave. Lin Jun did not pay attention to him. He raised his speed to the maximum. He passed through the strong winds, the white clouds, the troposphere, and went straight into the dark sky. You actually want to escape into space? Yan Huang was stunned for a moment. Then, a trace of ruthlessness appeared in the corner of his mouth. Lin Jun, you can't escape. Even if you are in space, I will still catch up to you and kill you. Gradually, the two left the Earth's gravity. A full 7 hours passed. The moon in front of them became clearer. The distance between Earth and the moon was only a few 100,000 kilometers. If they really flew to the moon, Lin Jun and Yan Huang would need to fly for about a day with their speed. Lin Jun, idiot. There are only a few craters on the moon. If you go there, you'll just be courting death. Besides, you're already injured. When the bleeding from your wounds affects your physical strength, your speed will decrease. If this goes on, the gap between us will be closed in 2 days at most. When that time comes, you'll die. Lin Jun also knew that his wounds could not be treated effectively. Although the light particles were constantly healing his wounds, he was also constantly flying and moving, preventing his wounds from forming a scab. Who told you that I am going to the moon? This is just a scenery on our long journey. I am taking you this way to let you see the familiar scenery one last time. You will not be able to see it in the future. What nonsense are you talking about? Yan Huang slashed out another light blade from behind. Lin Zhen twisted his body to dodge. Do you think you can catch up to me in 2 days? But I don't think so. Yan Huang, I am going to take you on a long journey in the galaxy. Lin Zhen was not joking with Yan Huang. He had already thought of a way to get rid of Yan Huang. Although his wounds could not be treated, his lightning wings were constantly moving. The power of electricity in the dark star was still nourishing them. This nourishment was very slow, but one thing was certain. The speed of the lightning wings was constantly increasing. However, the speed of increase was very slow. It would not appear in a short period of time. As for the problem of his wounds, Lin Zhen released the cold energy in the dark star again, temporarily freezing the injured parts. This way, the blood would not flow out. When he was safe, he would let the power of light heal it. In the beginning, Yan Huang did not believe that Lin Zhen could fly in space. However, everything that happened in reality made him believe it. The flight time had exceeded 24 hours. The two of them were already more than 100,000 kilometers away from Earth. Yan Huang looked to the left. The moon in the distance was slowly moving. Looking from here, the surface of the moon was gray and ugly. It no longer had the elegance of the moon in the human world. When he looked back, there was a huge blue planet in the distance. That was Earth. Yan Huang had never thought that he would be able to see the whole picture of Earth so clearly. Moreover, he was not in an aircraft, but floating in space alone. Yan Huang was a little tired of flying. He really wanted to take out an aircraft and sit on it. However, very few aircraft on Earth could fly out of the atmosphere and wander in space. Looking at Lin Zhen in front of him, who was still flapping his wings and flying into the depths of the universe, Yan Huang really wanted to call him an idiot. Do you want to go on a space adventure with your own strength? Don't look at your speed on Earth. In space, your speed is like a snail. Madman, do you think you can drag me to death like this? Let me tell you, you can't do it. I will definitely catch up with you. Then come on. If you can chase me to Mars, I will admit defeat. Yan Huang had a headache. Things had already come to this. He had to continue the chase no matter what. If he went to Mars, it might take 2 years if he was lucky, because Mars also had an orbit. Looking at Yan Huang, who was still chasing after him from a few thousand meters away, Lin Zhen sneered. Chapter 359. Lin Zhen has seen this aircraft. Its internal energy storage is running low, but it can still support a flight of millions of kilometers. His plan is to lead Yan Huang into space, fly far away, and then return by aircraft. After making up his mind, Lin Zhen and Yan Huang began a long space journey. The speed of the two people is about 100,000 kilometers per day. After leaving the Earth, they headed in the direction of Mars. On the 3rd day of flight, Yan Huang thought that Lin Zhen was barely holding on. At this time, he was still making sarcastic remarks. Lin Zhen, I really admire your courage and perseverance. You can persist for 3 days, but I think your injuries are about to flare up. After flying for 5 days, Yan Huang felt that Lin Zhen's injury doesn't seem to be as serious as he thought. On the 7th day, Yan Huang discovered that Lin Zhen seemed to be the same as him, able to persevere. He was a little scared at this time, because when he looked back, he found that the Earth has become smaller. The originally huge blue planet looks a little far away. It must be known that the distance seen in space is really far. He estimated that he is almost 1,000,000 kilometers away from the Earth at this time. He was a little shaken. In order to kill Lin Zhen, does he really have to spend 2 years chasing him to Mars? Yan Huang's movements were a little slow due to his thoughts. Lin Zhen, who was flying in front of him, also noticed this situation. After calculating the distance, it's time for him to return. Taking out Xu Mingxuan's aircraft from his space ring, Lin Zhen opened the door and walked in. He has seen this kind of aircraft too many times in his previous life, and he is extremely proficient in operating it. A small cabin, the lowest level of interstellar aircraft in the Sky River Empire. It has a maximum flight speed of 10,000 meters per second, internal energy storage, and a maximum flight range of 5 million kilometers. The current energy storage is about a quarter of its full capacity, so it should be able to fly 25 million kilometers. I left the Earth for 7 days, flying about 1 million kilometers. With this aircraft, I can get home in a little more than a day. As for Yan Huang, you can continue to wander in the interstellar space for 7 days. I won't accompany you. Lin Zhen was lying on the bed in the small house. He looked at Yan Huang through the window. The aircraft drew an arc and flew past him. Yan Huang, who was debating whether or not to continue chasing after Lin Zhen, was stunned. He looked at the strange little house and the sarcastic smile on Lin Zhen's face behind the window. Oh no! Yan Huang's eyes were full of disbelief. He put his hands in his hair and watched Lin Zhen pass by in the distance. Why do you have an aircraft? Why do you have such a flying device? With this kind of aircraft, why did you fly with me in space for 7 days? Lin Zhen chuckled. He thought to himself, if I don't fly with you for 7 days, how would I have the time to recover and prepare to deal with you? However, Lin Zhen didn't want to waste any more words with Yan Huang. He wanted to return to Earth immediately and take the time to heal his injuries. He also wanted to go to the last lake of the 5 Dalian pools, Lake Rui, to look for the last meteorite. Therefore, he accelerated the aircraft and flew away quickly. Yan Huang was about to leave Lin Zhen behind. Yan Huang also looked at Lin Zhen in despair. However, in the depths of the universe, a black dot floated over. Lin Zhen turned around abruptly and immediately knew that something was wrong. It was actually a group of meteorites. I can't be so unlucky. I actually encountered a group of meteorites. Using an aircraft in a group of meteorites was akin to seeking death. Lin Zhen hurriedly came out of the small house. As soon as he came out, a large group of meteorites whizzed past. Lin Zhen's figure was submerged in these celestial fragments. Yan Huang was further away. When he saw this situation, he was so scared that his legs went soft. Without any hesitation, he turned around and flew in the direction of Earth. Lin Zhen, who told you to be cocky? You can turn into cosmic dust together with the meteorite. I'm going back to Earth. I now have powerful strength. This is my capital. When I return to Earth, those who betrayed me, those who disobeyed me, I will take revenge on all of them. Yan Huang no longer thought about Lin Zhen. In his opinion, Lin Zhen, who was swallowed by the group of meteorites, would definitely die. The speed of the group of meteorites was even faster than Yan Huang. They flew further and further away in the universe. Yan Huang didn't even dare to look back. He only wanted to be as far away from these terrifying celestial bodies as possible. Lin Zhen entered the group of meteorites. He was surrounded by celestial bodies that were like small mountains. They were moving at a speed that was several times faster than the speed of sound. Lin Zhen flapped his lightning wings and dodged several celestial bodies that collided with him. I don't know where these meteorites came from. I should stay and take a look. Lin Zhen flapped his thunder light wings and approached a huge meteorite that was flying beside him. This meteorite was more than 20 kilometers in diameter. It could be considered a big guy. Lin Zhen landed on it and immediately felt a strong astral force. This should be a broken asteroid. The astral force on it hasn't completely dissipated. Lin Zhen looked down. These meteorites seem to be heading towards Earth. When meteorites fall on Earth, they have to burn through the atmosphere. The big ones will become small, and the small ones will directly evaporate. Ordinary meteorites don't pose much of a threat to Earth. But these meteorites are different. The largest of these meteorites are hundreds of kilometers in size. If they fall on Earth, they will definitely bring harm. I have to think of a way to stop them from falling on Earth. Soon, he discovered that the meteorites were moving slower than his flying speed. However, the difference wasn't too big. It would take about 10 days to reach Earth. Looking into the depths of the group of meteorites, there were a lot of them. Lin Jun could choose to leave the group of meteorites now, but he didn't do so. Since he discovered it, he should stop this disaster from happening. However, Lin Jun had no way to stop it now. His injuries were not light, and he needed time to heal. Anyway, the meteorites kept moving forward, and no one disturbed them. Lin Jun simply sat down on this large meteorite and began to heal his injuries. The healing process lasted for 2 days. When his external injuries were almost healed, he had time to carefully study these meteorites. After grabbing the meteorite, he quickly discovered the structure of the asteroid. Earth and ice, these two things are the main composition of the asteroid. The outer crust and rock layer are broken, and the core part of the asteroid has been broken into several large pieces. With my own strength, it is almost impossible to break these meteorites. If I want to stop them from falling on Earth, there is only one way. Space cut. Space cut was not a head-on collision with the meteorite. It was in the form of a space crack, breaking the meteorite itself. This was the only way. However, it was not easy to cut apart the fragments of this meteorite. This was a very big test for Lin Jun. Fortunately, my research on the power of space has never stopped. The dark star formed a space of its own in my body. The cutting power of the dark star space should be able to cut apart a large meteorite. Lin Jun made up his mind. He flapped his lightning wings and flew to the front of the group of meteorites. After nearly 10 days of space travel, Lin Jun's lightning wings had reached 5 times the speed of sound. It was much faster than the meteorites. His first target was a very small meteorite. He wanted to test if the space cut method was feasible. Arriving in front of the meteorite with a thought, a 3-meter-long space crack appeared. Puff! The meteorite was like tofu in front of the space crack. It was directly cut in half. It was not cut in half. The shattered meteorite was cut into many pieces, turning into a pile of rubble. One of the rubble even injured Lin Jun, who was caught off guard. Moreover, at the place where the space crack appeared, a pile of rubble directly entered Lin Jun's dark star space. After these rubble entered the dark star space, they were immediately attracted by the power of the dark star. They started to revolve around the dark star. This is the power of the dark star. If the dark star was compared to the Earth, then the orbit of these meteorites would be around the Earth's equator. Seeing this scene, Lin Jun immediately thought of Jupiter's Jupiter ring. Jupiter ring was a beautiful ring formed by some broken celestial bodies that were attracted by Jupiter's gravity. Celestial bodies were actually stars. Or rather, they were fragments of stars. They all contained star power. If the Earth was the same size as Jupiter, its star power would definitely not be as strong as Jupiter. This was because of the existence of Jupiter ring. Seeing the meteorites start to revolve around the dark star, and the star power on them and the dark star complemented each other, Lin Jun was immediately overjoyed. I was just worried that my strength was not enough. Aren't these meteorites a heaven-sent opportunity? I have to make good use of it. With a thought, Lin Jun started to purposefully create space crack. Those smaller celestial bodies were directly swallowed by his space crack. They entered the dark star space and revolved around the dark star's equator. As for the larger celestial bodies, they still needed to be cut. Lin Jun started to patiently cut them over and over again. As time passed, Lin Jun became more and more proficient in the space crack. The space cracks that he could release also became bigger and bigger. At first, he could only release space cracks that were 3 meters long. After a day, he could release space cracks that were 20 meters long. The smaller rubble was directly swallowed by him into the dark star space. As for the larger ones, he would cut them into pieces and release them. When encountering those huge meteorites, Lin Jun's space cracks were like fruit knives. They cut them in circles and dismembered them into the dark star space. As the number of meteorites around the dark star increased, a rudimentary dark star ring gradually took shape. The power of the dark star also became stronger and stronger. After being nourished by the star power of the meteorites, the situation on the dark star also gradually changed. The magma on this planet that originally belonged to the ancient deep world began to slowly cool down. The volcanoes gradually stopped erupting. The earth gradually began to take shape. The thunder and lightning in the sky also calmed down. The thick cumulonimbus clouds also became less dense. Chapter 360. Lin Jun had never felt so good before. His Dantian-Chi's advancement was relatively slow because he didn't have the time to collect the dark energy stones or meditate. Therefore, it was stuck at the quasi-star realm. However, this opportunity had given his dark star the hope of advancing to the next level. After discovering that the dark star had absorbed meteorites into its orbit, he originally wanted to cut these meteorites to form a dark star ring. This would increase the star power of the dark star by at least 1/3. However, he didn't expect that the energy of these meteorites would actually cause the dark star to evolve. Lin Jun's dark star was unprecedented. This was a real planet. It was different from the Dantian-Chi's star core stage, meteor stage, etc. It was a different realm. According to Lin Jun's feelings and research, he divided the evolution of the dark star into 6 stages. The first stage was the ancient netherworld era. To be more precise, it was called the ancient netherworld era. During the ancient netherworld era, his dark star was a huge magma ball. It didn't have mountains or land. Even the atmosphere wasn't completely formed. At this time, the dark star was just like the Earth in its infancy. It couldn't provide Lin Jun with a lot of star power, which corresponded to the star core stage of the cultivation system. After absorbing meteorites into the dark star's space and seeing the evolution of the dark star, Lin Jun's conjecture was verified. After the ancient netherworld era, the second stage was called the immemorial era. The immemorial era was the stage where the planet's magma layer started to solidify and gradually formed the Earth's crust. The magma of the ancient netherworld era turned into volcanic rock and sedimentary rock. When the liquid material solidified, the water started to flow and gather, forming some valleys and large potholes. This was the embryonic form of the ocean. The resulting gas started to form the atmosphere, and the wind started to move the atmosphere. The star power of the immemorial era was equivalent to the meteor stage of the cultivation system. After the immemorial era, there was the Proterozoic era. At this time, the Earth's crust moved, mountains appeared, and the planet's plates shifted. The surface temperature dropped further, and when it reached the freezing point, it formed a global glacier. Life also started to form at this time, but it was in a dormant state. The star power at this time was equivalent to the comet stage. After the Proterozoic era, there was the Phanerozoic era, the Mesozoic era, and the Cenozoic era. This was the evolution process of the dark star that Lin Jun thought. The star power of the Phanerozoic universe was roughly equivalent to the satellite stage of the third-level eternal realm. On the other hand, the Mesozoic era was equivalent to the planet stage of the third-level eternal realm, while the Cenozoic era was equivalent to the stellar stage. As for what came after the stellar stage, Lin Jun couldn't guess for the time being because it was too far away. But the most important thing right now was that Lin Jun had to cut up the meteorite and absorb it into the dark star space as soon as possible. This would form the dark star ring and allow the dark star to enter the primeval universe. Once he succeeded, Lin Jun would have the star power equivalent to the meteor stage. With the addition of the star rings, he could even have the strength of a mid-stage meteor. This process was undoubtedly Lin Jun's greatest opportunity since he started cultivating, and it was also his greatest improvement. Once he succeeded, Lin Jun would no longer be afraid of Yan Huang. His strength would definitely be able to leap into the heavenly star ranking, and he might not even be at the bottom. Forcefully suppressing the bursts of excitement in his heart, Lin Jun used the space cut again and again. As the power of the dark star continued to increase, the power of his space cut also increased. On the third day, his space crack could already reach a length of 50 meters and a width of more than 10 meters. It could even easily swallow and absorb small pieces of meteorite. On the fifth day, the dark star ring around Linjin's dark star had basically condensed, and the dark star was about to evolve from the ancient netherworld universe to the primeval universe. His space crack had also reached a length of 80 meters. The increasing power made Linjin want to cheer. He even hoped that this process would continue. Unfortunately, Linjin didn't have that much time. This small planet had basically been used up by Linjin after so many days of cutting. Only a few of the largest meteorites were left. When Linjin looked back, he could even see the Earth clearly. In 3 days I will return to Earth. I must also finish cutting these large meteorites. I believe that at that time, my dark star will have truly evolved to the primeval universe. I will also be a super expert with the strength of the meteor stage. Forcefully suppressing the excitement in his heart, Linjin continued his great undertaking of cutting. Linjin, damn guy. You actually made me fly in space for half a month in vain. I curse you. I curse you to be smashed into pieces by those meteorites. I curse you to become the dust of the universe. Yan Huang landed on Earth. His landing point was the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau of China. At this moment, he was sitting at the top of Mount Everest, trying his best to recover his strength. Half a month of wandering in the starry sky had made him feel physically and mentally exhausted. Moreover, he still needed to stabilize his realm in the comet stage. After breaking through, he didn't have the opportunity to do so. Now that he had finally returned to Earth, he finally had a chance to recuperate. Yan Huang believed that his strength had already reached the peak of Earth's martial artists. Not to mention that Linjin wasn't his opponent. He wasn't even afraid of the experts on the heavenly star list. Of course, he knew in his heart that half of his strength came from the starry sky crown and the light fiend. The light fiend was his most handy weapon, and the starry sky crown was the source of his strength. As long as he had these two things in his hands, he would have an immortal body. He wasn't afraid of anyone. There were 4 small hooks on the starry sky crown. In the past, he had kept them. Now, Yan Huang simply pierced the hooks into his flesh and blood, completely connecting with him. This way, his strength would be guaranteed. After resting on Mount Everest for 2 days, Yan Huang finally stabilized his realm in the comet stage. He looked at the star list. Linjin was still on the dark star list. His position hadn't changed. This proved that Linjin was still alive. Humph. You might have started your long interstellar travel. Maybe you'll never come back. But even if you don't come back, I won't let your family off. Yan Huang thought a lot these 2 days. He also read a lot of things on the internet. The church had completely declined. Now, there were probably less than 10 million believers in the world. There wasn't even a single core force left. The most serious blow to the church was when Baguio led the ascetics to withdraw from the church. He also claimed that there was no starry sky true God and that everything was a lie. The words of the former Holy Son of Light were undoubtedly a heavy blow to the Church of God. A wave of mass withdrawals began all over the world. Almost all the churches were burned down, and Baguio was the first to burn down the Holy Might Church in Constantinople. Even if there were still some die-hard believers in the church, they wouldn't be able to make a difference. Yan Huang didn't have the intention to establish a church anymore. His current goal had shifted to personal cultivation. Ever since he had obtained the Holy Light Stone, he had seen through this point. Beliefs were useless. The only thing that mattered was strength. As long as he had strength, he would have everything. A church without strength was just a castle in the air. It would collapse very easily. He decided to work hard on his cultivation and challenge the masters on the heavenly star list. However, before that, he had to vent his anger. Linjin had caused him so much trouble. Now that he couldn't kill Linjin, he had to vent his anger on Lin Jun's family. Many people on the internet were speculating about Lin Jun and his whereabouts. Even Lin Jun's family members had become celebrities. Yan Huang saw a post where many people prayed for Lin Jun in Ice City. They also wished for Lin Jun's parents to be healthy and live a long life. Lin Jun's parents were also photographed. They were currently living in their home in Ice City-based city of Huaxia. "I'll kill your parents. Let's see who can stop me." After resting for 2 days, Yan Huang felt better than ever. He was stronger than ever. He came down from Mount Everest, stepped on the void, and headed straight for Ice City-based city. The distance between Mount Everest and Ice City was 7,000 kilometers. However, for Yan Huang, who had been through interstellar travel and thought that he had seen the world, this was not a long distance. He arrived in just over an hour. When Yan Huang appeared in the sky above Ice City-based city, the Ice City Defense Army immediately sounded the alarm and posted the news of Yan Huang's appearance on the internet. Yan Huang's strength was undeniable. Only masters like Lin Jun could fight against him. The Ice City Defense Army would definitely not be able to stop him. Yan Huang walked step by step in the void and gradually approached Lin Jun's home. He lowered his head and looked at the people running in panic below. His heart was full of joy. Why did he create trouble for the Vatican in the first place? This kind of life where he looked down on the world and took revenge was what a martial artist should live. He didn't have to wear the mask of the Pope anymore. He could do whatever he wanted. From now on, no matter who mentioned his name, Yan Huang Lucifer, they would only tremble. When people found out that Yan Huang had appeared in Ice City from the internet, they immediately realized what Yan Huang wanted to do. However, at this moment, who could stop Yan Huang from committing murder? A large screen was erected on a flying device. On the screen was the mayor of Ice City-based city, Lu Ming. The flying device hovered and Lu Ming said to Yan Huang, "Yan Huang, no matter what feud you have with Lin Jun, I hope you can settle it according to the rules between martial artists. You are not allowed to touch Lin Jun's family." So noisy. A small mayor of a base city dares to be so arrogant in front of me. Get lost. With a wave of his light fiend, a light blade shattered the flying device. After that attack, he waved his light fiend again. The light blade drew a long and deep trench on the ground, extending from the Jiangbei Villa area to Lin Jun's home. "Everyone, pay attention. If anyone dares to approach this ditch, I will bury him in this ditch." Yan Huang walked along the trench until he reached Lin Jun's home. No one dared to stop him. He wanted to use this method to announce his change. He was no longer the benevolent Pope, but the King of Hell. At the end of the trench, someone finally stood there and blocked Yan Huang's path. He looked to be in his 30s. He was dressed in green and his eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. Yan Huang was shocked when he saw this person. Then, he sneered. Chapter 361. Chen Fenglie's appearance lifted everyone's spirit. One had to know that Chen Fenglie was a master on the heavenly list. He was the strongest person in China in the past 100 years and was known as the #1 in China. Now that Yan Huang was so arrogant that he killed his way to Lin Jun's house, it was difficult for the city guards and martial artists to stop him. Anyone who tried to stop him would be courting death. If he killed Lin Jun's parents under such circumstances, then people would be ashamed to face Lin Jun. Therefore, Chen Fenglie's arrival was especially timely. Chen Fenglie reached out his hand and flicked the dust off his green robe. Then, he faced Yan Huang and said, "Yan Huang Lucifer, it doesn't matter if I'm embarrassed or not. A barbarian like you probably doesn't know what integrity is. Lin Jun is the hero of China. His parents should be protected by us. As for whether I win or lose, it doesn't matter. Besides, do you think you're my opponent?" Chen Fenglie's eyelids twitched slightly, revealing his contempt. "Well said." Someone shouted. Then, the surrounding onlookers applauded Chen Fenglie enthusiastically. Back then, there was a rumor that Chen Fenglai and Lin Zhen had a feud because Lin Zhen killed the president of Lifeng, Yu Zhenhua. Now, it seemed that it wasn't the case at all. Yan Huang was annoyed by Chen Fenglai's contempt. Chen Fenglai, I'm not afraid of you. Although you're a master on the Heavenly Star list, I have to remind you that the rule that the Heavenly Star list can't interfere with mortal affairs was set by Yan Chia from China. Now that you're standing in front of me, aren't you afraid that the Heavenly Star list from the European Union and other countries will attack? Chen Fenglai laughed. It's just hearsay. Yes, there is a rule that states that the Heavenly Star list can't interfere with mortal affairs. However, that refers to the major matters of the human world. Saving someone alone is not included. The corner of Yan Huang's eyes twitched. You're determined to ruin my plans. No, you're determined to be stubborn and insist on humiliating yourself. Yan Huang closed his eyes. If that's the case, let me see the strength of a master on the Heavenly Star list. The fiendish light in his hand transformed into the death god's scythe. Yan Huang felt that this kind of scythe was very convenient to use. The sword in Chen Fenglai's hand was called Flowing Rainbow. It was also a top-grade sacred artifact. Just by wielding it in his hand, a sharp sword beam surged forward. Yan Huang felt his clothes fluttering behind him as his hair was cut off by the formless sword qi. What a terrifying sword intent! Yan Huang was secretly shocked, but his hands were not idle at all. He leaped forward and swung the Grim Reaper's scythe. Chen Fenglai, give me your position on the Heavenly Star ranking. Amidst the strong light, the baleful light slashed down heavily. Flying 10,000 swords. Chen Fenglai didn't move, but the invisible sword qi around him suddenly came to life. People seemed to be able to see invisible swords stabbing at Yan Huang at high speed in the air. Yan Huang was in the air, waving the death scythe left and right, slashing the air with a series of metal clashing sounds, and countless sparks even bloomed around him. Hiss! Streaks of sword qi swept past like a hurricane. Yan Huang's every move was exposed, and he was stabbed by a sword. Blood rose from his shoulder. After being stabbed once, it was the second, the third, and even the 10th and 100th sword. The formless sword qi was like rain hitting a banana leaf. Yan Huang's body kept spinning in the air, and blood rained down like rain. Plop! Yan Huang's body fell heavily to the ground, sliding a few dozen meters away. Blood flowed like a river on the ground. My holy light set. The holy light set that protected Yan Huang's body was shattered, hanging on his body like a piece of junk. There were hundreds of wounds of various sizes on his body. Some were superficial, some had reached his abdomen, and some had even broken his bones. As for Chen Fenglai, who had beaten Yan Huang so miserably, he didn't move at all. He didn't even lift a finger. Even his flowing rainbow didn't make a single move. Mr. Chen is amazing. Mr. Chen is amazing. No wonder he is the most powerful fighter in China. Yan Huang, did you see that? First, Lin Zhen came to deal with you. Now, Mr. Chen Fenglai is here to deal with you. China is not a place where you can do whatever you want. Kneel down and surrender. Thousands of people had gathered at the scene, but they were all very far away. People were shouting from afar. Behind Chen Fenglai was Lin Zhen's house. Lin Lie and Li Qin were on the second floor. They looked down at Chen Fenglai, who was guarding their house, and their hearts were filled with emotions. Chen Fenglai was the idol of 2 generations in China. People of Lin Lie's age and his parents' generation had all witnessed the legend of Chen Fenglai. They were all familiar with the name of the most powerful fighter in China. But since when did the number 1 expert in Huaxia actually stand in front of their house to protect them? How great was this honor and honor! All of this was because they had a good son, Lin Zhen. They just didn't know where Lin Zhen was. Lin Lie and Li Qin really wanted to be with their son and live a peaceful life. Yan Huang stood up shakily and stared at Chen Fenglai with his face full of blood. I admit that I underestimated you. The power of your invisible sword qi is beyond my expectations. But Chen Fenglai, you can't defeat me. Is that so? Chen Fenglai felt that this person was really stubborn. He was still bragging even when his face was full of blood. The starry sky crown on Yan Huang's head emitted white light. It was like a halo that enveloped Yan Huang. Under the halo, his wounds healed quickly. The small wounds healed almost instantly, and the big ones healed in 2 to 3 seconds. Your crown? Chen Fenglai finally noticed the starry sky crown on Yan Huang's head. This is a super sacred weapon that was tailor-made for me. Chen Fenglai, even if you can knock me down once, I can still stand up. If you knock me down 100 times, I will still get up 100 times to continue attacking you. You better pray that you don't get hurt at all. Otherwise, you won't be far from death. Holding the light termination in his hand again, Yan Huang raised his hand. The strong light from the light termination swept across like a supernova explosion. Even Chen Fenglai had to raise his hand to block it. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yan Huang teleported and slashed the death scythe at Chen Fenglai again. Chen Fenglai, admit defeat. No matter how strong you are, you can't defeat me because I have an immortal body. The space was torn apart by the death scythe's attack. The strong light slashed at Chen Fenglai's neck. Chen Fenglai didn't use flying swords this time. Instead, he used flowing rainbow to fight with Yan Huang. Yan Huang only knew how strong Chen Fenglai was after the two of them exchanged blows. Chen Fenglai was at the late stage of the comet stage, which was slightly higher than Yan Huang. However, his combat skills and martial arts were far superior to Yan Huang, who had just advanced to the Sui Zhou stage. The death scythe was quickly suppressed by flowing rainbow. Amidst the strong white light, the colorful light grew brighter and brighter. The two lights clashed, and no one could see what was happening inside. Buzz! After the clear sound of the collision, the strong light disappeared. Chen Fenglai retracted his flowing rainbow and looked down at his arm. There was a wound on it. It was caused by Yan Huang's death scythe. Not bad. As a newly advanced comet stage, you are able to cause me a small injury. You are already close to the strength of the heavenly star ranker. Chen Fenglai nodded at Yan Huang. Yan Huang opened his mouth. Suddenly, blood streaks streaked across his body. The rainbow light blossomed on his shoulder and thigh. Both his hands and legs were separated from his body at the same time. Let's see to what extent the immortal body you speak of can reach. Only Yan Huang's brain and body were still connected. He opened his mouth and roared, Chen Fenglai, you are bullying the weak. You are not a hero, but this is useless. I have an immortal body. You can't kill me. Chen Fenglai laughed. Just as he was about to mock Yan Huang, he saw Yan Huang's starry sky crown emit a strong light again. His separated hands and legs were back together. Not only were they back together, but the wounds on Yan Huang's body were all healed. There were no longer any scars. What a powerful crown! Chen Fenglai couldn't help but look at the crown. Yan Huang's body recovered, and he felt that his strength had increased. Waha! The immortal body is the #1 godly skill in the world. I have recovered to my best condition. I even improve. Chen Fenglai, I have to thank you. Thank you for helping me understand the secret of the immortal body. The light in his hand rotated. Yan Huang walked closer to Chen Fenglai. I admit that you are stronger than me, but so what? Now that you've suffered a minor injury and my condition is even better than before, what will happen next? Chen Fenglai's face was serious. He said to Yan Huang, your power comes from the crown on your head. That thing can absorb the power of the stars and provide it to you. That's right. But it is useless for you to know. Unless you run now, you can live. Chen Fenglai laughed coldly. I don't need to run, but I think you don't even have the chance to run. After that, Chen Fenglai's green clothes started to flutter. Are you going to use that move again? Let me tell you, it is useless no matter how many times you hurt me. I have an immortal body. Yen Huang roared loudly. I have never believed in the so-called immortal body. Immortal is just harder to kill. Your power comes from the starry sky crown, and the starry sky crown's power comes from the starry sky. If that is the case, I will cut off your connection with the starry sky. Let's see if you still have an immortal body. Sword territory form. Chen Fenglai raised his hand, and 8 illusory swords seemed to break out of the ground. They floated around the two of them in 8 directions. These 8 swords were over 100 meters tall. They covered the sky and the sun. The dense sword aura filled the air, blocking the sunlight. What? Even sunlight can't shine in. Yen Huang was shocked. Sunlight is also a part of starlight. In my sword territory, starlight cannot shine, and the power of the stars cannot enter. Yen Huang Lucifer, do you think your starry sky crown can provide you with endless power? Chapter 362. Yen Huang had never dreamed that Chen Fenglai would have such a trick up his sleeve. His face instantly turned pale as a sheet of paper. He dared to challenge Chen Fenglai because of his immortal body. Once his immortal body is gone, he won't be far from death. Domain. You actually have the power of a domain? Yen Huang couldn't believe it. Frog at the bottom of the well, you don't need to know these things. Since you dared to come to Lin Jin's house and commit murder, naturally, someone will deal with you. Today, I will completely eradicate this scourge. Chen Fenglai clasped his hands together, and the 8 giant swords began to rotate. Endless sword energy filled the sword domain. This time, he wants to see how many times Yen Huang's immortal body can save his life. Outside the atmosphere, a 100-meter-long spaceship was slowly passing by the moon. This is an interstellar battleship. It looks like an alien warehouse, in line with the usual style of the Sky River Empire. Inside the cockpit, 2 people were looking at the screen in front of them. On the screen was the battle between Yen Huang and Chen Fenglai. One of them has short orange hair, and the other has short red hair. The orange-haired man said to the red-haired man, "XINO, have you checked the situation of these 2 people?" "Don't worry, Doodle. I've already investigated. These 2 people are very famous on Earth. The man in green is called Chen Fenglai. He's the founder of the Gale Martial Arts School in China. He's known as the #1 expert in China and is ranked 17th on the Heavenly Star list on Earth. The other person is called Yen Huang, the Pope of the Star God religion. We all know that people on Earth believe in the so-called true God of the Star God, but they don't understand who the true God is. It's just a virtual totem. In fact, the image of the true God of the Star God is similar to those supermasters in the Empire. Haha, don't you think it's funny? Well, I heard Xu Mingxian explain this to us. Didn't Xu Mingxian fool the Aborigines that he was the messenger of the true God and provoked a war on Earth? Yes, that guy's ambition is not small. It seems that he wants to make a big contribution. When our expeditionary army arrives, he will run over to take the credit. Damn it, he actually wants to leave us behind. XINO was very unhappy with Xu Mingxuan's approach. Don't be agitated, XINO. Didn't Xu Mingxian fail? He's dead now. Doodle slowly took a sip of red wine. Yes, he failed. His plan was full of loopholes. The most important thing was that this guy ran out of the Red Rose and was beheaded by a native named Lin Jin. Maybe he saw that we were coming, so he was too eager to make a contribution. So there's no one to receive us? Now that we're here, we have to do everything by ourselves? Graffiti was a little dissatisfied. Graffiti and XINO were both people who were greedy for enjoyment. They didn't come to Earth to fight for their lives. With the experience of going to many civilizations, they knew that conquering a planet required force, but that force had to be so strong that it was unstoppable. The Empire's expeditionary army had such strength, but the 2 adventurers did not have such strength. On this planet called Earth, there were still some powerhouses with decent strength. Since they came here, they needed a spokesperson who would let them enjoy a life of luxury and command them. Xino thought for a moment and said, "It should be like this. When we come here, no one will welcome us, unless the Star Sky Church is still here. As far as I know, the Star Sky Church exists in name only. In fact, this Pope Yen Huang is all alone, so no one will welcome our arrival." "Not necessarily." Graffiti pointed to Yen Huang on the screen and said, "I think this guy will definitely welcome our arrival. After all, he's still the Pope. If Shu Mingxian can encourage him to launch an Eastern expedition, there's no reason why we can't do the same. He should be the most devout believer of the Star Sky Church on this planet." "You mean we should go to him?" "Yes, he's the Pope. Even if the Star Sky Church has declined, there should still be some people who support him. When we come here, he should be able to gather a group of people for our use." "What you said seems to make sense." Xino thought for a moment and said, "But I'm afraid it won't work. Yen Huang is no match for Chen Fenglai. I don't think he'll live for long." On the screen, Chen Fenglai's sword domain had been activated, cutting off the astral power from the outside world. Yen Huang's star crown was no longer as powerful. "Of course I know he's dying. That's why we need to help him at this time. If we save him, he'll listen to us wholeheartedly in the future." "How?" asked Xino. "It's simple. Yen Huang's astral power has been cut off by the sword domain, right? As long as we break Chen Fenglai's sword domain, his immortality will come back. As long as he's immortal, Chen Fenglai can't kill him." "What do you mean? Use the energy cannon?" "That's right. Get ready to activate the energy cannon now. Destroy Chen Fenglai's sword domain and give Yen Huang his freedom." "Okay, I'll start now." Xino busied himself in front of the console. Outside their spaceship, a huge muzzle was erected. "Energy cannon charging, energy preparing, estimated time. 30 seconds, target locked." Following the prompts from the console, the cannon barrel lit up more and more. The target was locked on Huaxia's Ice City, Jiangbei District, in front of Lin Zhen's house. Within a radius of 100 meters, Chen Fenglai's sword domain was everywhere. They could hit it easily. The battle between Yen Huang and Chen Fenglai was getting more and more intense. Under the coverage of the sword domain, Yen Huang knew he had no way out. If he wanted to live, he had to defeat Chen Fenglai. This time, he used almost all his strength. His light fiend was impenetrable, resisting Chen Fenglai's 1,000 flying swords head-on. The star crown itself contained a huge amount of astral power. It could support Yen Huang for a while. But Chen Fenglai was smiling. Yen Huang was just struggling before his death. Without his immortality, he was nothing to be afraid of. Sword chi lashed out like a storm. Yen Huang's star crown couldn't be replenished by astral power. It was only a matter of time before it was defeated. Just when he felt that victory was in his hands, he suddenly felt an inexplicable palpitation. What's going on?" It was as if something was staring at him. Chen Fenglai felt it was difficult to breathe. His hand movements also slowed down. He raised his head and looked at the sky. Through the sword domain, he felt a threat coming from the distant space. "What's that?" In the sky there was a little bit of light. "That's not good." The light grew brighter and brighter. In an instant it was blinding. An unbelievably powerful force cut through the sky and blasted toward the ground. This process only took 1/100th of a second. Chen Fenglai didn't even have time to react. His sword domain was hit by this huge energy pillar that came down from the sky. Like a broken mirror space, the sword domain shattered. Chen Fenglai's chest felt heavy, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Ugh! After the energy pillar broke the sword domain, it blasted into the ground. A huge crater was formed on the ground. The ground shook and dust flew. Many people in the distance couldn't stand still and fell to the ground. Lin Zhen's house also shook under the violent impact. Fortunately, the quality of the house was good. It didn't collapse after a few shakes. "What's that? Is it an earthquake?" "It's not an earthquake. It looks like a meteor. Didn't you see that the ground was penetrated? Meteor? There can't be such a coincidence. It just happened to repel Mr. Chen's attack. Moreover, that was clearly a light pillar. Someone must be secretly helping Yan Huang. Yan Huang also felt that someone was helping him. Chen Fenglie's sword domain was shattered, and the star power instantly surged over, restoring his star crown's power. With the replenishment of the star power, his powerful feeling returned. He first cupped his fists toward the distant space. I wonder who helped me. Yan Huang Lucifer, thank you in advance. Then, he turned to look at the injured Chen Fenglai. Ha 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 ha. Chen Fenglai, man proposes but God disposes. You thought that you could defeat me, but you didn't expect this. Now that you're injured and my immortal body is back, do you still have the confidence to defeat me? Chen Fenglie's eyes widened. The terminating light in his hand shook twice. This weapon has followed me and killed many people. However, it has never tasted the blood of an expert on the heavenly star list. Chen Fenglai, today, you shall use your blood as a sacrifice to this weapon. Slash. Yan Huang suddenly jumped in front of Chen Fenglai and slashed down with the terminating light. Chen Fenglie's gaze turned cold. Flowing rainbow in his hand exploded with a ball of 7-colored radiance and collided with Yan Huang. Their bodies intersected, and 2 more wounds appeared on Chen Fenglie's body. On the other hand, Yan Huang was once again slashed into 2 by Chen Fenglai. However, a huge amount of star power descended from the sky, and his body quickly returned to its original state. With the confidence of his immortal body, Yan Huang once again pounced forward like a ferocious tiger. In the end, he was killed by Chen Fenglai again. However, he could still recover. Instead, he paid the price of his life to add another wound to Chen Fenglie's body. Chen Fenglai waved his flowing rainbow. This time, he wanted to slice Yan Huang's head. However, the star crown still had a strong defense. The holy light star power on it actually protected Yan Huang's head from fatal damage. With such protection, Yan Huang was even more fearless. This kind of suicidal attack made Chen Fenglai extremely uncomfortable. Chapter 363. This was a heart-wrenching battle. Yan Huang relied on his powerful recovery ability to hold back China's #1 expert, Chen Fenglai. If Chen Fenglai failed, then no one would be able to save Lin Jin's family. The heavenly star list's interference in mortal affairs was not unlimited. Since Chen Fenglai represented China's heavenly star list, no one else could interfere. Otherwise, it would cause a backlash from other countries' heavenly star list. Oh, you're already on the heavenly star list, yet you can't deal with Yan Huang. You can't blame others for your lack of skills. Especially in this battle, it wasn't because Chen Fenglai wasn't skilled. It was because he had the sword domain that he came to deal with Yan Huang. However, who would have thought that a cannon would come from outer space and disrupt Chen Fenglie's plan? People looked at the battle scene in horror. If this continued, things would be bad. In the sky, on the edge of the moon, Xino and Doodle looked at the battle scene and smiled at each other. They liked the feeling of controlling everything. Helping the weak defeat the strong was such a sense of accomplishment. As long as Yan Huang defeated Chen Fenglai, when they arrived on Earth, Yan Huang would definitely work for them wholeheartedly. At that time, they might be able to become the masters of Earth and control everything remotely. When the Empire's expeditionary army arrived, they would hand over a civilized planet. This would be a great contribution. They might even have a chance to become nobles. Xino was excited and wanted to say something to Yan Huang, but a huge meteorite suddenly flew over from afar. The first thing that sounded was the spaceship's alarm. Attention, attention! An unknown celestial body is rapidly approaching. Beginning scan. What's going on? Doodle hurriedly looked at Xino. Xino glanced at the workbench. The radar showed that a huge celestial body was approaching. It seems like a meteorite. Damn it, why would we encounter such a thing? Pay attention to avoid it and change course. The radar continued to alert. Attention, attention, celestial body scan completed. Unknown meteorite, irregular shape, diameter 75 kilometers, density, mass, 7th stage, detected as an asteroid fragment. XINO hurriedly drove the spaceship to avoid it. He directly avoided it by 100 kilometers to avoid being touched. Once it collided with the celestial body, their small spaceship would definitely die without a burial place. Check if there's any life form? Doodle said. I don't think there's a need for that. What kind of life form could exist in a celestial body that roams the universe? Also, it's indicated that it's an asteroid fragment. Could it be that there are people who have settled down on an asteroid fragment? Don't say so much. It's better to be safe than sorry. It's better to be safe than sorry. All right. You're the captain. I'll listen to you. Even if someone has settled down here, they're about to enter Earth's atmosphere. Don't they know how to hide? XINO muttered, but he still followed Graffiti's request and let the radar continue to scan for life forms. Attention, attention, active life forms have been detected on the asteroid fragment. The test results indicate that they are Earthlings. Their vital signs are strong. Originally, Graffiti didn't have much hope. Out of his instincts as an adventurer, he examined the flying meteorite. He didn't expect to find life. It can't be. There are Earthlings on this asteroid? Yeah, what does this guy do? Why are you living on a meteorite? Graffiti and XINO stared blankly as the huge meteorite entered the atmosphere and began to burn. That person wouldn't still be on it, right? But the two of them could only watch. At this time, they couldn't get close to the meteorite. Not to mention whether the meteorite would be in danger of shattering, the high temperature on it was also unapproachable. Under their watchful eyes, the meteorite that had just entered the atmosphere suddenly split open. A corner of the huge meteorite fell off, and it was split in half in the air. This is... XINO, do you feel that the corner seems to have been cut off by someone? It seems that the cross-section is relatively smooth. Indeed, I have this feeling. It seems to be man-made. Then we have to be careful. If it's man-made, then this person must be a super expert on Earth. It's very likely that he's an expert on their heavenly star list. XINO nodded, but he didn't care too much. So what if he's an expert on the heavenly star list? As long as it doesn't affect our plan, it's fine. We came here to conquer them. Even if there are a few experts on this indigenous civilization's planet, they won't be good enough. I hope so. It's fine as long as it doesn't affect Yan Huang and Qinfenglia's battle. Doodle looked at the meteorite that was flying towards Earth. He felt uneasy because the meteorite's direction seemed to be heading towards Huaxia. Lin Zhen sat cross-legged on the meteorite. He had just absorbed a large piece of meteorite fragment, and the dark star ring in his body was almost complete. It's almost done. After 2 days of hard work, my dark star ring has finally taken shape. If this dark star can leave the space in my body and be placed in the sky, it will be a very lively asteroid. Lin Zhen looked at the dark star in his body. Now, not only was the dark star ring complete, but the dark star itself was about to be successfully promoted. The planet in the ancient netherworld had basically completed its transformation. The magma planet was already in a state of solidification, and the Earth's crust was about to be formed. Great! I'm about to enter the ancient netherworld stage. I just need to absorb a large piece of fragment, and the dark star space will be stable. I will also have the star power of the meteor stage. After entering the atmosphere, the meteorite fragment had already begun to burn due to the friction between it and the atmosphere. I can't wait any longer. I'll use the last space slice. This will be the moment I break through. Lin Zhen once again flew in front of the meteorite. The lightning light wings had already reached 5 times the speed of sound. Very quickly, he pulled some distance away from the meteorite. With a thought, space slice appeared. 100-meter-long spatial crack directly appeared in the center of the meteorite. After this space slice, the meteorite, which had already shrunk in size, actually split open. Countless meteorite fragments were torn apart. When Lin Zhen saw this situation, he resolutely sent out more spatial cracks, sucking in all the meteorite fragments that could enter the dark star space. After a large amount of meteorite fragments entered, Lin Zhen's dark star space finally underwent some changes. The magma ball finally stopped flowing completely. The planet, which was originally almost liquid, finally became solid. The Earth's crust was changing, and the continental shelf was beginning to appear. The uneven places were the future mountains and oceans. Rays of light began to condense in the air. Another blazing meteorite entered the dark star space. But at this time, the dark star ring was already complete. This meteorite hovered in the air, gradually turning into a fireball. When Lin Zhen saw this, he immediately poured the firepower and light energy of the dark star space into the ball of light. Rumble. A fireball similar to the sun appeared above the dark star space. Light and heat began to radiate from it. Of course, the material structure of this ball of light wasn't as complete as the dark star space. This was only a celestial body that was attached to the dark star space. It was only responsible for transmitting light to the dark star space. Water elements filled the air above the dark star space. Small puddles of water began to appear in places that no one would notice. Although these puddles were still affected by the heat of the magma, bubbling like hot springs, and their temperature was so high that life couldn't survive, once the planet completely cooled down, these puddles would turn into oceans. Wind elements began to appear in the air. As the magma and puddles changed, the bubbles began to form an atmosphere. The embryonic form of an atmosphere had already appeared. Immemorial universe. This is the immemorial universe. It is equivalent to the meteor stage in the cultivation system. I finally have the strength of a meteor stage expert. Lin Zhen could feel a strong surge of stellar energy seeping out from the dark star. His strength was also increasing rapidly. At this time, Lin Zhen knew that only one's cultivation realm was the source of all strength. Whether it was his unstoppable or immovable mountain, without a powerful star force backing him up, it was impossible for him to display such great strength. The strength of the immemorial universe and the strength of the immemorial universe were simply incomparable. At this moment, Lin Zhen felt that his strength had at least doubled. This wasn't the strength of his body, but the foundation of a martial artist, star force. If I had such strength earlier, why would I need to painstakingly apprentice myself to a master? With just this strength, I would be able to defeat Yan Huang and the others. I really wonder how much my strength will increase once the main star in my Dantian condenses a star core. Bathed in the starlight, Lin Zhen's state was unprecedentedly good. After reincarnating, in just 4 years, he had reached a height that he couldn't reach in his previous life. All of this made him incomparably happy. However, he kept feeling that the dark star space was still lacking something. With a thought, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Shwa, 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 shwa. Continuously using spatial slash, the smaller meteorite was gradually cut apart, turning into fragments that entered the dark star space. The largest piece of meteorite hovered on the other side of the dark star space. Under Lin Zhen's control, it turned into the shape of a moon, reflecting the light of the sun, forming day and night in the dark star space. As for the countless smaller meteorites, they turned into stars that filled the sky, scattered all over the dark star space. After doing all this, the dark star space finally stabilized. Between heaven and earth, a vast purple chi began to appear. The purple chi connected heaven and earth, condensing into a substance. Lin Zhen didn't know what this purple chi was, but he felt that it was incomparably important. Collect. Lin Zhen was the master of the dark star space. With a thought, the purple chi turned into a ball and flew directly into Lin Zhen's Dantian space. Lin Jun originally wanted to collect this ball of purple qi. However, at this moment, no matter how hard he tried, he could only collect an insignificant portion of the purple qi. He couldn't control the rest at all. It should be because he didn't have enough strength. When this purple qi appeared in Lin Jun's hand, Lin Jun felt a golden qi in his hand, and a baleful aura filled the air. It was as if this purple qi didn't turn into something, he couldn't control it. Spear. I need a spear. With ardent light destroyed, Lin Jun indeed needed a weapon. Chapter 364. As soon as Lin Jun held the spear in his hand, he felt as if he was breathing the same breath, sharing the same fate, and being connected by blood. This spear was born in my world. It was formed by the purple aura. Other people can't use it at all. I can feel that it is extremely heavy, but it is as light as a feather in my hand. If I have to define a quality for this spear, it would be above the sacred weapon, and above the sacred weapon would be the divine weapon. However, it does not belong to the divine weapon category. Lin Jun injected astral power into the spear. The spear trembled slightly, and traces of sharpness overflowed from the body of the spear. The stronger I am, the stronger this spear will be. As for how strong it will be, I will only know in the future. The spear's transformation had only consumed 1/1000th of the purple aura. The remaining purple aura was suspended in Lin Jun's dantian, motionless. He had to wait until he was stronger before he could use more purple aura. As for what this purple aura was, Lin Jun had no clue. He had never heard of it before. I have to give this spear a name. Lin Jun looked at the dark star space. There were suns, moons, and stars in the sky. The sun was yang and the moon was yin. Let's call it yin-yang. The yin-yang spear did not even need to be stored in the interspatial ring. Lin Jun's mind moved, and the spear entered his dantian. My dark star has entered the immemorial universe, which means that this world is stable. The star power of the immemorial universe is equivalent to the early stage of the meteor realm. However, with the support of the dark star ring, my star power has increased by about 30%. Now, I have the star power of the middle stage of the meteor realm. Of course, from the outside, I am still in the quasi-star state. After all, my dantian qi has not evolved to the star state. It seems that I have to find time to cultivate my dantian qi. The quasi-star state still does not give people the impression that I am strong enough to convince them. Lin Jun thought to himself. He had already passed through the atmospheric turbulence and arrived below the cloud. These meteorites were falling in the direction of Huaxia. Lin Jun tried his best to control the direction and head in the direction of Ice City. He was a little worried. Yan Huang had returned to Earth before him, and it was very likely that Yan Huang would cause trouble for his family. He had to rush over and take a look immediately. As his body descended, Lin Jun turned his head to look at the sky. When he passed by the moon earlier, he seemed to have felt something spying on him. However, at that time, he was at the crucial moment of his promotion to Dark Star, so he did not have the time to investigate. No matter who you are, you better not have any bad ideas. As he flew down, Bingqing Bay City appeared in his field of vision. He went straight to Jiangbei District. Gradually, Lin Jun saw his own villa. Someone is fighting. Lin Jun saw 3 people fighting fiercely in front of his house. Moreover, the momentum was great. There was no doubt that they were all experts. 3 people, 2 people besieging 1 person. That person is Yan Huang. He really went to our house. Lin Jun saw Yan Huang's body of light. Because Yan Huang had comprehended the light atom, he always radiated light when he fought. At this moment, he and another foreigner were attacking a man in green. Lin Jun was very familiar with the man in green. He was the founder of the Zephyr Dojo, Chen Fenglai. Chen Fenglai was currently guarding his house. Yan Huang and another person were undoubtedly going to invade his house. While Lin Jun was feeling grateful to Chen Fenglai, his heart was filled with anger. He increased his lightning wings to the maximum, creating a sharp whistling sound in the air as he charged toward the ground. Ivanov was an expert ranked 18th on the Heavenly Star list. He was originally 17th, but after being challenged by Chen Fenglai, he fell to 18th. Being last on the Heavenly Star list meant that one had to accept challenges from experts on the Dark Star list. Therefore, no one was willing to be last. He was originally ranked 17th, but he was challenged by Chen Fenglai. He had wanted to take revenge on Chen Fenglai for a long time and take back his 17th position. However, he was also afraid of Chen Fenglai's sword domain. At the beginning of today's matter, he was not optimistic about Yan Huang. This person was not a match for Chen Fenglai. Sure enough, even if Yan Huang had an immortal body, he would still be defeated by Chen Fenglai. However, there was a sudden change in the situation. An energy beam flew from the sky and actually scattered Chen Fenglai's sword domain. Yan Huang suddenly had a chance to turn the situation around. Ivanov immediately had an idea. It was obvious that there was a very powerful person secretly helping Yan Huang. If he went out now, not only would he be able to get acquainted with a powerful person, he would also be able to defeat Chen Fenglai and take revenge. It was killing two birds with one stone. Ivanov immediately acted. He was originally on an aircraft near Ice City. He immediately drove the aircraft to Ice City and arrived in front of Lin Zhen's house. When Ivanov suddenly joined the battle, Chen Fenglai's heart tightened. Ivanov, you are a Heavenly Star list expert. How dare you take advantage of the situation? Haha, it's right to win. How can I take advantage of the situation? Yan Huang, do you need my help? Yan Huang originally wanted to say that he did not need help. However, even if he had an immortal body, defeating Chen Fenglai was definitely not an easy task. It was better to have someone to help him. Moreover, he looked up at Lin Zhen's house and saw that Ning was accompanying Lin Zhen's parents by the window. Seeing Ning's beautiful face, Yan Huang's heart was burning. Even if he could not get Su Mingyue, Ning was not bad. Alright, Ivanov first. I, Yan Huang, will recognize you as a friend. Let's go together. The two immediately began to attack Chen Fenglai from both sides. The situation suddenly took a turn for the worse. Chen Fenglai could also win against Ivanov alone, but it would be more difficult. The difference in strength was not big. Now that Yan Huang, who was not afraid of death, was added, he suddenly found it difficult to resist. The three of them exchanged a few moves at lightning speed. When Chen Fenglai once again used the heart-piercing sword on Yan Huang, his back was also stabbed by Ivanov's sword. His thigh was also hit by Yan Huang's Grim Reaper's scythe. Yan Huang's body staggered backward. On the other side, the supposedly dead Yan Huang began to recover. Chen Fenglai, you can't run even if you want to now. The ranking that I lost, I will take it back now. Ivanov and Yan Huang once again stood side by side, preparing for a new round of attack. Chen Fenglai sighed. Today it would be difficult to end well. Die for me. Yan Huang was the first to jump up. At this time, he hated Chen Fenglai to the extreme. If it was not for his immortal body, he would have been killed by Chen Fenglai 10 times. Now it was time for revenge. Just when Chen Fenglai was preparing to mobilize the last of his strength to resist, he saw a stream of light coming from behind Yan Huang at high speed. Yan Huang. Cram. The stream of light went straight for Yan Huang. Yan Huang did not care about attacking Chen Fenglai. He waved his baleful light and slashed back fiercely. However, the speed of the incoming person was faster than him. Before the baleful light could reach him, the purple energy had already hit him. Yan Huang's face suffered a heavy blow. Pooh! The starry sky crown helped Yan Huang block the attack. However, he was still sent flying by the purple light. The powerful impact instantly destroyed his brain. Blood and brain matter were shaken into the air. His head also fell limply to the ground. He died on the spot. It was unknown if the starry sky crown would still help Yan Huang recover after his head died. At this time, Chen Fenglai and Ivanov finally saw who the incoming person was. Lin Zhen. They often saw Lin Zhen, but that was on the internet. Today, when they saw Lin Zhen in person, they felt that he was clearly different from the person they saw on the internet. Lin Zhen was dressed in black. He held a 4-meter-long purple spear in his hand. His black hair was slightly messy. His eyes were like stars. He simply stood there, but he was as steady as a mountain. He gave off an extremely powerful feeling. Moreover, they could clearly feel that Lin Zhen's aura was not below theirs. However, his realm was only that of a quasi-star realm cultivator. The astral power that Lin Zhen released just now could not be faked. However, even with their eyesight, they could not see where the problem was. This made them even more cautious. Chen Fenglai was just about to speak when Lin Zhen cupped his fist. "Senior Chen, Lin Zhen is polite. Thank you for saving my family. Lin Zhen will definitely repay you in the future." "Hee, do you think it's appropriate to call me senior?" Chen Fenglai asked with a smile. Lin Zhen also smiled. "You are an expert on the heavenly star list. It's appropriate to call you senior." Chen Fenglai waved his hand slightly and then pointed at Ivanov. "This person is also on the heavenly star list. He wants to take advantage of the situation to deal with me. Once he succeeds, not only will I die, but your family will also be in big trouble. Fortunately, you came back in time. Otherwise, he might have succeeded. Lin Zhen, I'll give you a chance to enter the heavenly star list." Lin Zhen's gaze fell on Ivanov. He knew that Chen Fenglai was not trying to sow discord. This was Ivanov's idea. When Ivanov saw Lin Zhen looking over, his eyebrows twitched. "Lin Zhen, let's end today's matter here. Just pretend that I never came. I hope you won't interfere in the personal grudge between me and Chen Fenglai. After all, this is a matter between the heavenly star list." "The heavenly star list," Lin Zhen sneered. "Go to hell and explain it to the ghosts." He raised his yin-yang spear and thrust it towards Ivanov's chest. Ivanov's face turned cold. He believed that he was an expert on the heavenly star list. Explaining to Lin Zhen was already giving him face. He did not expect that Lin Zhen would not know when to back down. He actually dared to make a move. "Do you think the heavenly star list is made of paper? Young man, you are too arrogant." Ivanov decided to teach Lin Zhen a lesson. 2 long swords appeared in his hands. The one in his left hand blocked Lin Zhen's spear. The one in his right hand was ready to counterattack. Seeing this scene, Lin Zhen sneered and suddenly activated Unstoppable. The yin-yang spear combined with Unstoppable was enough to give this expert on the heavenly star list a huge surprise. Under Chen Fenglai's dumbfounded gaze, Lin Zhen's long spear pierced through Ivanov's heart without any resistance. Ivanov's sword was completely useless as the purple long spear pierced through his heart. Metal chi strangulation. Ivanov's internal organs were shattered and he died on the spot. Chapter 365. Only when Lin Zhen withdrew his spear did Chen Fenglai regain his senses. He could not help but give Lin Zhen a thumbs up. "Brother Lin, that spear of yours is really amazing. It looks simple, but in reality, it is a great skill that conceals clumsiness. With supreme strength and incomparable sharpness as its foundation, it is too difficult to block." "Thank you for the compliment, Brother Chen." Lin Zhen was already on the Sky Star list. He didn't need to be polite with Chen Fenglai. "Ha ha. That's right. But that person seems to be coming back to life. Brother Lin, do you have any ideas?" Lin Zhen turned around and looked at Yan Huang, who was slowly standing up. He frowned. "This guy's immortal body is quite difficult to deal with. Isn't that so? I'm a little scared of him." "Then let's just let him die completely." Lin Zhen held the yin-yang spear and slowly walked toward Yan Huang. Yan Huang was still scared of being killed by Lin Zhen's spear. He didn't expect that even with the protection of the star crown, he still couldn't block Lin Zhen's attack. Previously, Lin Zhen had been chased by him in space until he had nowhere to run. But in just a week's time, he was no longer Lin Zhen's opponent. Yan Huang, who was holding the light demon, couldn't help but back away. Impossible. I don't believe it. How did you suddenly become so strong? It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. Yan Huang, now you will pay the price for what you did. In your dreams. Yan Huang's voice sank. Lin Zhen, so what if you are strong? I have an immortal body now. Even if you kill me, I will still come back to life. Unless you keep trying to kill me, how long can you last? 1,000 years? 10,000 years? You will slack off one day. If you give me a chance, I will crazily take my revenge. Are you forcing me to kill you? Lin Zhen smiled coldly. Lin Zhen, I'm just telling you the consequences. Otherwise, when I get my revenge, your family, your friends, and your women, I won't let a single one of them off. So, you better think carefully before you act. I've already thought it through. Since you dare to threaten me like this, I can't let you live. I must kill you today. Good. I originally thought that if you kneeled down and begged me for mercy, I would spare your dog life. Now it seems that there's no need for that. Lin Zhen, go to hell. Yan Huang howled, and the baleful light fiercely chopped down at Lin Zhen. Lin Zhen had to admit that Yan Huang's baleful light was indeed a treasure. It was many times stronger than his liquid metal. Even though he had yin-yang in his hands, Lin Zhen still liked this thing. Yan Huang's slash was indeed powerful, but it was nothing to the current Lin Zhen. The long spear in his hand quickly pierced forward. He didn't even need to use unstoppable. With just the power of the yin-yang long spear, Lin Zhen once again stabbed Yan Huang to death. Ugh! Yan Huang clutched his chest and slowly fell. Lin Zhen raised his hand and wanted to use gravity to pull the baleful light over. However, it actually emitted a strong light to resist Lin Zhen's gravity. Lin Zhen didn't believe it. Just as he was about to increase the gravity, Yan Huang actually came back to life. Lin Zhen, don't waste your energy. My baleful light and starry sky crown can only be owned by people who have mastered the light atom. You haven't mastered the light atom power, so these things will never belong to you. Is that so? Then let's try again. Lin Zhen's body flashed, and once again rushed in front of Yan Huang. His long spear struck repeatedly, and a few times, he broke Yan Huang's limbs. The light atom core resonated with the starry sky crown, and frantically repaired Yan Huang's limbs. Lin Zhen raised his hand, and 4 rays of light rose into the sky. Light, thunder, ice, and fire. 4 7-star blades appeared in the sky. After spinning, Lin Zhen drove them with his mental power, and pierced them towards Yan Huang. I'll let you have an immortal body. Let's see how I'll deal with you today. Puff, 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 puff. 4 7-star blades fell from the sky and ruthlessly pierced Yan Huang's wrists and ankles, nailing him to the ground. Lin Zhen, how dare you treat me like this? Yan Huang was in so much pain that he wanted to die. His body could recover at any time, but the 7-star blades nailed him to the ground. He still had to bear the pain. Chen Fenglai was stunned when he saw Lin Zhen's methods. He couldn't help but give Lin Zhen a thumbs up. Brother Lin, brilliant. Why didn't I think of such methods? Hee, that's because Brother Chen's heart is kind. To deal with this bastard, you have to be ruthless. Lin Zhen's yin-yang spear streaked across Yan Huang's throat. The starry sky crown's holy light couldn't block the power of the yin-yang spear. Yan Huang's head was cut off. Let's see if you can still cause trouble with only a head left. Lin Zhen originally wanted to pierce Yan Huang's head with his spear, but the top of his head was protected by the starry sky crown. If he forcefully attacked, he was afraid that he would break the starry sky crown. Lin Zhen really didn't want to waste such a thing. Yan Huang's head fell, and a huge amount of star power immediately pulled his body and head together again. Yan Huang quickly opened his eyes again. He was actually struggling, trying to free his hands and feet from the shackles of the 7-star blades. Even if he had to cut his tendons, he wouldn't hesitate. How troublesome. I don't believe it. Lin Jun was furious. With a thought, a bright flame burned on the 7-star blazing blade and began to devour Yan Huang's body. If I can't kill you, I'll turn you into ashes. Let's see if you can still live. The raging flames began to devour Yan Huang's body and gradually engulfed him. Above the sky, Tuya and Xian were watching this scene and couldn't help but frown. This isn't good. If this continues, I'm worried that Yan Huang will be killed sooner or later. Lin Jun has too many tricks up his sleeves. Hearing Xian's words, Tuya also said worriedly, "That's right. Yan Huang can't die. If he is killed by Lin Jun, I'm afraid there's no more suitable candidate in this world." Then what should we do? Should we just kill our way down to save him? Absolutely not. After all, we are outsiders. If we rush out rashly, it will definitely cause the experts on Earth to unite against a common enemy. Although the two of us are strong, we can't fight against them. We can't take the risk. Then what else can we do to save Yan Huang? Yan Huang has already comprehended the power of light atoms. As long as there is enough light energy, his body will not be completely destroyed. Let's give him a little more effort. Not only will his immortal body become more powerful, but it will also give him the power to fight back. Fire a light elemental energy beam? That's right. Prepare to fill it with light stones and fire it with energy cannons. This thing is a great supplement for Yan Huang. It will definitely make him lively and even counterattack. Okay. This thing is immune to people who have mastered light atoms. It is a destructive weapon for others. No one can stop it. However, in order to help him this time, we have put in a lot of effort. We don't have many light stones from Blue Moon Bay Planet. Those are worldly possessions. They are nothing compared to our conquest plan. As long as we can conquer this planet, I won't even blink my eyes if you ask me for all my wealth. Xian immediately began to fill the energy cannons. About 30 seconds later, a pure white light beam blasted towards the ground. Lin Jun urged the flames. The high temperature of 3,000 degrees had already melted most of Yan Huang's body. Yan Huang's holy light recovery speed was finally unable to resist the invasion of Lin Jun's flames. Yan Huang howled in pain. "Lin Jun, I was wrong. Let me go. I will listen to you in the future." It's too late to realize your mistake now. Your sins do not deserve to be forgiven. Just as Lin Jun was about to increase his strength and completely turn Yan Huang into ashes, a white energy beam suddenly shot down from the sky and directly hit Yan Huang's body. When the light beam fell on his body, Yan Huang's strength suddenly skyrocketed. This is pure light energy. The person who helped me has made his move again. Ah, great, this is really great. Lin Jun, let's see how you are going to kill me. The power of the light beam actually suppressed the power of the flames at this moment, allowing Yan Huang to regain his vitality. His hands and feet also moved violently, as if he was about to break free from the suppression of the 7-star blade. Damn, it's coming again. Who the hell is helping Yan Huang? Chen Fenglai was very annoyed. Lin Jun glanced at the sky. Who else could it be? This energy beam was undoubtedly shot by a spaceship. It should be another person from the Sky River Empire that has arrived on Earth. However, no matter what, Lin Jun has to get rid of Yan Huang. He urged his star power to continue burning fiercely. At the same time, he released 3 other 7-star blades, nailing Yan Huang's lower abdomen, chest, and neck to prevent him from breaking free. Another beam of light shot down from the sky. It seemed that the outsider was determined to support Yan Huang and Lin Jun against each other. Lin Jun didn't look back and continued to increase his strength to burn Yan Huang. However, Chen Fenglai suddenly shouted, "Brother Lin, be careful." Lin Jun turned his head fiercely, only to see a bright light in front of him. The light beam was actually aimed at him. "You want to kill me?" Lin Jun hurriedly tried to dodge. Being hit by this pure light beam, the the result will definitely not be good. However, it was too late. Lin Jun instinctively raised his yin-yang shield. He believed that the spear bred by the new world should be able to offset most of the damage. However, at this moment, he saw a graceful figure suddenly appear in the sky, blocking the attack for Lin Jun with her body. Lin Jun recognized at a glance that the person who appeared was Su Mingyue. He thought that Su Mingyue would be injured after blocking this attack, but unexpectedly, the light beam didn't cause any damage to her. Su Mingyue anxiously said to Lin Jun, "Lin Jun, my master said that if you want to kill Yan Huang, you must take off the star crown on his head with great power. I can block the holy light for you, can you do it?" Seeing Su Mingyue like this, Lin Jun knew that she must have mastered the light atom and was no longer afraid of the holy light. "So that's how it is. I understand, be careful." Lin Jun had an idea in his mind. In a single stride, he arrived in front of Yan Huang. With a spread of his hands, he firmly grasped the starry sky crown on his head. Bang! Chapter 366. Yan Huang's starry sky crown had 4 hooks that were firmly fastened to his scalp. Of course, this kind of fastening was useless. Lin Jun's pull was met with resistance. It came from the starry sky crown's own holy light repulsive force. The dense holy light burned Lin Jun's hands, preventing him from getting close to Yan Huang. Yan Huang also writhed in pain. "Lin Jun, don't even think about taking my starry sky crown. It's mine. None of you can take it away." Lin Jun's mind moved. 7 elemental powers covered his hands and resisted Yan Huang's holy light. He pulled hard, but the starry sky crown seemed to be one with Yan Huang. His pull pulled Yan Huang's body up, but he couldn't pull the starry sky crown down. "I don't believe it." Lin Jun tried again, but the 7-star blade couldn't nail Yan Huang's body anymore. Chen Fenglai shouted from the other side, "Brother Lin, this won't work. Unless there's a very strong force opposing you and pulling Yan Huang's body from one side, there's a chance of pulling him down from both sides." "Then Brother Chen, you do it." Chen Fenglai nodded. He ran over to pull Yan Huang's body, but the strong holy light prevented him from getting close. After Su Mingyue blocked it twice in a row, the energy beams finally stopped falling from the sky. She came to Lin Jun's side. She raised her hand and grabbed Yan Huang's baleful light. Others couldn't use the baleful light, but Su Mingyue could. She also grasped the power of light atoms and could use the baleful light. At this moment, Yan Huang was in so much pain that he almost fainted. Naturally, he couldn't fight with Su Mingyue for the right to use the baleful light. He could only let Su Mingyue take the baleful light. Su Mingyue shook her hand. The baleful light turned into a long rope and tied Yan Huang tightly from head to toe. Then, she handed one end of the rope to Chen Fenglai. "Uncle Chen, pull this rope. You can use force against Lin Jun." Chen Fenglai nodded. He took the baleful light rope. He and Lin Jun looked at each other and used force. "Hi." Chen Fenglai's footsteps were a little shaky. His eyes were filled with shock. "Brother Lin, you have great strength." Lin Jun didn't say anything. He could already feel how difficult it was to deal with the starry sky crown. Ordinary strength definitely wouldn't be able to pull it down. Therefore, when he used his strength, he had brought out the star power of the dark star space. However, he hadn't expected that his absolute strength would actually surpass Chen Fenglai's. The strength of the two sides was not balanced, so it was impossible to do so. The most likely possibility was that Yan Huang's body would be torn apart, but it would still grow. Chen Fenglai's face was a little red. "I didn't expect Brother Lin to be so strong. It seems like I need a helper." As soon as he finished speaking, a figure flashed in the sky, and an old man in a tang suit appeared in front of Chen Fenglai. Brother Chen, what's wrong? If you're in trouble, let me help you." Lin Jun looked at the old man who had just appeared. He didn't know who he was. Chen Fenglai hurriedly introduced him. "Brother Lin, this person is ranked 10th on the Heavenly Star list. His name is Enbihwai. Yes, he's somewhat related to you. Somewhat related to me. Linjin couldn't believe that he didn't know this person. Enbihwai snorted. We'll talk about this later. Let's deal with the matter at hand first. Linjin, Chun Fenglai and I will work together. Can you handle it? Linjin nodded. I can try. Hee. Good boy. If you can really handle Chun Fenglai and I, then I'll allow you to call me Big Brother. Linjin was stunned. He didn't know why Enbihwai would say that. However, he couldn't dwell on this matter now. Who knew when the cannon would be fired? It was a race against time. Linjin knew that the energy beam from the spaceship was blocked by Su Mingyue. Perhaps she would be driven to desperation and fire other energy cannons, killing them all with Yan Huang. However, the process of changing the energy stone and recharging the energy required 2 minutes. 1.5 minutes had already passed. He still had 30 seconds. Enbihwai and Chun Fenglai grabbed the Light Fiend's rope at the same time and nodded to Linjin. Then, the three of them worked together. Linjin grabbed the starry sky crown with both hands. He could feel the enormous strength of Enbihwai and Chun Fenglai. That strength was almost irresistible. After all, it was the combined strength of two heavenly star list experts. Su Mingyue's rope was tied very skillfully. Yan Huang's body wouldn't be torn. If it was torn, it would only be at the joint between his head and the starry sky crown. It would depend on whether Linjin and the other two's strength could break the starry sky crown's holy light power. Linjin lowered himself into a horse stance. The star power within the dark star began to surge. Hee. A series of whistling sounds came from Linjin's throat. The surging star power within the dark star burst forth. Starlight flickered all over his body. An enormous strength like a mountain was released. Enbihwai and Chun Fenglai's faces and necks were also red. Linjin's strength was as vast as a river. The two of them couldn't be afraid. Both of them had reached the comet stage. Fierce starlight illuminated the entire place. Creak! A dazzling brilliance bloomed on top of Yan Huang's head. Yan Huang, who was tied up like a mummy by the Light Fiend, wanted to scream in pain. However, he couldn't make a single sound. The light became brighter and brighter, stronger and stronger. Now is the time. Linjin roared. The dark star suddenly spun violently. A vast amount of world power overflowed from the space of the dark star. That's right, it was world power. That was the power provided by the new world created by Linjin. It caused his strength to explode. Enbihwai and Chun Fenglai both staggered. They were almost pulled down by Linjin. Fortunately, they forcefully increased their strength and didn't make a fool of themselves in front of everyone. Open for me! Pung! A dazzling pillar of light soared into the sky. The starry sky crown that was Yan Huang's lifesaver and had helped him block countless death tribulations was finally pulled out from his head. Keep it well. Linjin directly handed the starry sky crown to Su Mingyue. Su Mingyue had also comprehended the light atom. This starry sky crown was best kept by her. Su Mingyue immediately kept the starry sky crown. She raised her hand and took away Yan Huang's light fiend. Then, she stored the two treasures into her interspatial ring. Plop! Yan Huang's body fell to the ground. His head was dripping with blood, for huge wounds were so deep that his bones could be seen. He couldn't imagine that the starry sky crown, which had been integrated with him, was pulled out by Linjin. How did this guy do it? After losing the starry sky crown, Yan Huang also lost his life-saving means. He looked at the sky with pleading eyes. How he hoped that the person who helped him twice in the sky could lend a helping hand again at this moment, even if it's to take him away. On the spaceship in the sky, XINO was stopped from continuing to replace the energy source. XINO, don't waste your energy, Yan Huang is already crippled. XINO was silent. It wasn't easy to choose a spokesperson, but the result was a failure. They came here from the Sky River Empire with great ambition, but they didn't expect to have such a bad start. Not only did Xu Mingxian die, but Yan Huang was also finished. This was a big blow to him. Then what should we do? What else can we do? Now is not the time to fight head-on with the Earthlings. We can only find a place to hide and plan slowly. Xino looked at Lin Zhen with some unwillingness. This guy ruined our good fortune. If there is a chance, I really want to get rid of him myself. Let's go. I believe there will be such an opportunity, but it won't be too simple. Lin Zhen may become a big problem for us. Xino said. Graffiti drove the spaceship through the Earth's atmosphere. They can't land from this direction, so they have to find a safe place. Yan Huang didn't know that his savior had left. On the contrary, Lin Zhen took out the star-observing mirror and glanced at it, then put it back in his arms without saying anything to others. With a thought, the seven-star sword returned to Yan Huang's body. At the same time, he also cut off all the tendons of Yan Huang's hands and feet. This time, Yan Huang's recovery was quite slow. Although he has mastered the power of light atoms, he lost the starry sky crown. This kind of recovery speed is simply unbearable. Lin Zhen, you can't kill me. There were people who saved me just now. They will definitely save me again. They are very powerful people. If you kill me, you will be in a lot of trouble. Lin Zhen looked down at Yan Huang, who was like a stray dog. Yan Huang, don't have any more fantasies in your heart. Your past glory has become a memory. Everything is over. Yan Huang finally knew fear. He begged Lin Zhen, please spare me. I can give you money. I have been the Pope for so long. I am very rich. Now I have 200 billion in my card. Lin Zhen squatted down and said with a smile, I still have to thank you for your reminder. Then I'll take your ring. After saying that, he took off the space ring from Yan Huang's hand. Password. Yan Huang murmured and didn't want to say it. Lin Zhen glanced at Yan Huang's lower body with bad intentions. What if I cut something off from your body now? Do you think you can recover? Yan Huang trembled and obediently told Lin Zhen the password. Chen Fenglai took out a credit card machine from the space ring. It could directly test the password. It was verified that it was real. Since you've taken my money, can you let me go now? No, your money can only buy you a relatively dignified death. Your crimes have long been unforgivable. Lin Zhen stood up. Yan Huang, I don't say anything about how you treat me, Lin Zhen. But you started the Eastern Expedition and killed countless Chinese people. I will settle this with you on behalf of China. Your body, your soul, and your thoughts should all be destroyed. You don't deserve to leave any trace in the world. Just pretend that you never came. Lin Zhen raised his hand. An energy ball spun in his hand. Go and see if your true God has a heavenly garden to take you in. Farewell, Yan Huang Lucifer. Boom! The energy ball smashed down. Raging flames burned and lightning wreaked havoc. Yan Huang's body was turned into a handful of dust. In the end, he was frozen by ice and rose into the air. After a bolt of lightning fell, pieces of ice crystals dissipated in the air. Chapter 367. The energy elements wreaked havoc in the air. Yan Huang's body was finally vaporized by Lin Zhen. Not even a single cell was left. No matter how he recovered, he had lost the possibility of recovery forever. After killing Yan Huang, Lin Zhen let out a long sigh of relief. He had finally taken care of this troublesome fellow. At this point, the God sect had completely collapsed. This sect that had stood on Earth for thousands of years had been destroyed by Lin Zhen in less than a year. Perhaps the God sect had some shortcomings, but without Lin Zhen, the God sect might still be prosperous. It could be said that Lin Zhen was the gravedigger of the God sect. Perhaps there were still some remnants on Earth, but they could no longer affect Lin Zhen. They could no longer form an organization. Lin Zhen then said to Chen Fenglai and Enbihui, "Thank you, Brother Chen and Brotherin." He still remembered what Enbihui had said just now. He called them brothers. Before Enbihui could say anything, Lin Zhen's parents came out accompanied by a Ning. Since Yan Huang had come to Lin Jin's house and been stopped by Chen Fenglai, Ning had taken the initiative to accompany Lin Jin's parents. She felt that this was what she should do. She regarded herself as Lin Jin's family. Lin Lie and Li Qin did not greet Lin Jin immediately. Instead, they took the initiative to express their gratitude to Chen Fenglai and Enbi Huai. Since becoming martial artists, they had gradually learned a lot about martial artists. They knew that the two people on the heavenly star list in front of them had a lot of weight among the martial artists in Huaxia, and even the martial artists in the world. If it had been in the past, Lin Jin and his wife would have bowed down to them. However, as Lin Jin's influence grew, the couple had found the self-awareness of being the family of a master. They would not be so short-sighted as to lose their composure when they saw a master. And Bi Huai and Chen Fenglai were also very polite to the couple's gratitude. After all, they were friends with Lin Jin, and Lin Jin's parents were considered elders. Even if they were older, they didn't put on airs at all. However, when Enbi Huai saw Ning, he snorted, "You're not married yet, but you're still thinking about your boyfriend's family." Everyone else was stunned. They didn't know why Enbi Huai would speak to Ning like that. Chen Fenglai explained, "Mr. Enbi Huai should be Anning's 17th or 18th. Anyway, he is an ancestor of many generations. He is hundreds of years old." Ning was also stunned. She thought Enbi Huai looked familiar, but she didn't expect him to be the great ancestor. Ning immediately remembered that this man had been an influential figure in the family hundreds of years ago. He was also known as the Old Ancestor. He had left hundreds of years ago, and there were records of him appearing twice in the middle of his life. He didn't expect it to be this man in front of him. Great-grandfather. Ning didn't know how to address him, so she just said the name she knew was the oldest. Enbi Huai nodded slightly. "Although I'm far away from the secular world, the Yin family has never left my sight. I know your father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and every generation of the Yin family. However, as long as the Yin family isn't completely destroyed, I've never interfered with the affairs of the Yin family in the secular world. As for Ning, I do know a little about you. You're a little useless in some aspects." And Ning's heart suddenly tightened. She didn't know what this old ancestor was going to say. And Bi Huai glanced at Su Mingyue, who had also walked to Lin Lie and Chen Fenglia's side. He slowly said, "You like the same boyfriend as another girl, and you're enjoying yourself. I'm very dissatisfied with this." The scene suddenly became quiet. Lin Jin's expression didn't change, but Ning looked gloomy. And Bi Huai glanced at Lin Jin's expression and said, "Of course, you have a good side. You can make my brother Lin Jin like you. You're worthy of being the daughter of the Yin family." Ning raised her head and opened her mouth slightly. She didn't know what the old ancestor meant. Chen Fenglai interrupted, "Forget it. I'll explain it to you. Ning told me several times that you're lucky that the person you like is Lin Jin. If it were another man, Ning would think that you're a disgrace to the Yin family. However, Lin Jin won't. Do you understand?" Ning's face suddenly turned red. This old ancestor was a little breathless. Lin Jin then said to Enbi Huai and Chen Fenglai, "Since the two of you are here, why don't you have a meal here before you leave?" Although Enbi Huai was Ning's old ancestor, in Lin Jin's heart, the two of them should be positioned as martial artists. Since their strength was on the same level, they should call each other brothers. Sure enough, Enbi Huai nodded and said to Chen Fenglai, "See? Lin Jin is so thick-skinned. He didn't even mention the matter of seniority and directly called me brother. It seems that I won't have a chance to rise in seniority." Chen Fenglai laughed. "I think you still have a chance. When Brother Lin's strength reaches a level that you have to look up to, he might remember your seniority." "Forget it. I don't want that day to come when I have to look up to my great-granddaughter and son-in-law for more than 10 lifetimes. How can I show my face then? I have to hurry up and break through to the 3rd level of the Eternal Realm as soon as possible. Otherwise, there's a possibility that this kid will catch up and surpass me." Chen Fenglai laughed loudly. Lin Jun also laughed involuntarily. And Bi Huai didn't care about his status and made everyone feel very comfortable together. Su Mingyue also walked to Li Qin's side and held her arm. At the same time, she and Ning intimately hugged at the same time. The warm and harmonious scene in front of him made Lin Jun feel very comfortable. He went over to greet his parents and then hugged his two beloved women in front of everyone. Ning had suffered in the northwest, and Su Mingyue had specially come to his rescue. She had even mastered the light atom for him. Lin Jun knew all of this in his heart. Su Mingyue and Ning wriggled twice and allowed Lin Jun to hug them. The corners of their eyes were slightly red. Nothing was more important than being together today. Ning felt that it was very embarrassing to hug in front of the old ancestor. She took the lead and pulled Su Mingyue away from Lin Jun's embrace. "All right, you're all covered in dirt. You've dirted me and you two go and chat. You and I will help Auntie cook." Li Qin couldn't stop smiling. With these two beautiful daughters-in-law accompanying her, cooking was also a very happy thing. The women went to the kitchen. Lin Jun originally wanted to chat with his father, but Li Qin told him to go and kill the fish. She said that they didn't dare to do it. Lin Liye smiled bitterly and went to do it. Lin Jun sat down in the living room with Bi Huai and Chen Fenglai. Soon, people from the municipal government came outside. They didn't even enter the house. They quickly repaired the ditch made by Yan Huang and the damage caused by the fight. Lin Jun didn't go out to greet them. These were things that he should enjoy. It was natural. After sitting down with Chen Fenglai and drinking 2 cups of tea, Chen Fenglai spoke. "Brother Lin, after dealing with Yan Huang, there won't be any major issues for the time being. What are your plans for the future?" "I don't have many plans yet." Of course, Lin Jun had plans. However, many of his plans couldn't be made public. They were all secret. Chen Fenglai thought for a moment. "In the battle just now, what do you think of the person who fired the cannon from outer space? He's not from Earth." Lin Jun's words were simple and clear. Although Bi Huai and Chen Fenglai had similar thoughts, they weren't as sure as Lin Jun. "Do aliens really exist?" Bi Huai asked first. "There must be." Lin Jun said, "You two can imagine that the energy beam that came from outer space is definitely not at the level of technology that Earth can have. The governments of various countries don't have the ability to set up space stations and weapons in outer space." Chen Fenglai also said, "Yes, that energy beam even scattered my sword domain. Otherwise, today's battle wouldn't have been so tiring." And Bi Huai also nodded. He and Chen Fenglai often went to space to drink. Naturally, he knew that there were no space stations outside of Earth. There weren't even many satellites, let alone weapons. Then, according to Brother Lin, will this alien pose any threat to Earth? And Bi Huai continued. "I think there will be some threat, but it shouldn't be big. Today's attack strength wasn't high. Even if there are aliens, there won't be many. However, we must be prepared for the future." Seeing Bi Huai and Chen Fenglai staring at him, Lin Jun continued, "Since there are aliens here, there might be a large group of aliens in the future. The people who come first will guide them. This is very likely to happen." And Bi Huai and Chen Fenglai both nodded. Lin Jun's words made sense. "So, our top priority is to cultivate and contact some like-minded friends to make ourselves stronger. If the aliens come, we will have the ability to fight. Even if they don't come, we won't lose anything." Lin Jun spoke his mind. Chen Fenglai said, "I think Brother Lin is right. But who should we contact? There are still many details to be discussed. As for cultivation, I want to ask if Brother Lin is interested in going on a trip with the two of us." "Where to?" Lin Jun asked. "The first ruins on Earth, the ancient god ruins in the Bermuda Sea." Hearing this name, Lin Jun closed his eyes. In his previous life, the Bermuda Sea was the most dangerous ancient god ruins on Earth. There were extremely powerful sea monsters there. It was said that SSS-level monsters could be seen everywhere. It turned out that the people on the heavenly star list were active there. Chen Fenglai and Enbihui probably couldn't play there. They were willing to stay at Lin Zhen's house for dinner because of this matter. For people at their level, they really didn't care about the trivial matters of the secular world. Their only goal was to cultivate. Chapter 368. Seeing Lin Zhen's clear-cut attitude, Chen Fenglai and Enbihui knew that they couldn't be too hasty. For the time being, they didn't bring forward the matter of going to the Bermuda Sea. However, they were still very interested in the matter of extraterrestrials. Lin Zhen seemed to know quite a lot of things. According to Lin Zhen's estimation, extraterrestrials would arrive on Earth in at most 3 years. In his previous life, extraterrestrial civilization didn't arrive so quickly. It would take more than 5 years. However, it was different in this life. Ever since the Overmind failed to control him and turned to control Holofh, many things had changed. Lin Zhen's butterfly wings had changed a lot of things. His heart was instinctively vigilant. In this life, he probably didn't have enough time to prepare. Within 3 years, extraterrestrial civilization would arrive. He revealed a little bit of information that he knew in his previous life, but it took Chen Fenglai and Enbihui a long time to digest it. The source of the information was also very simple. Lin Zhen said that he saw it in an ancient scroll. Chen Fenglai and Enbihui also believed Lin Zhen's words. The few of them were discussing who had more potential in China and who was worth more training. If extraterrestrial civilization really arrived, how should they deal with it? Lin Zhen's intention was to improve the strength of the Chinese martial artists. After the Eastern expedition, the Chinese martial artists had almost lost their vitality. It was time for them to recuperate and cultivate for a period of time. There were a lot of things involved, such as the collection and distribution of mutant beast crystals. At the very least, there should be a system to prevent the Chinese martial artists from killing each other. As long as there was a system and there was no more fighting, the overall strength of the Chinese martial artists would definitely increase rapidly. Lin Zhen only made suggestions for these things. With Chen Fenglia's influence, these things could be handled by him. Of course, it was also very complicated. The few of them discussed enthusiastically. After a while, dinner was served at Lin Zhen's house. Lin Zhen invited the two of them to sit. Chen Fenglai and Enbihui didn't stand on ceremony. Since they were already here, they might as well enjoy it. After all, not everyone was lucky enough to enjoy a meal at Lin Zhen's house. The few of them drank a lot during the meal, and their feelings for each other became deeper. In the end, when Enbihui said goodbye, he said to Aning, "Aning, you and Lin Zhen don't spend much time together. You don't have to go back to the in-group for a while. You spend more time with him. It's hard for him. If anyone in the family is against you too, tell them I told them to shut up." Aning agreed with a smile. She really didn't dare to tell her family about Lin Zhen. Although her family already knew about it, there were still some people in the family who were unhappy about it. Now, with Enbihui's words, the matter between her and Lin Zhen was set in stone. No one dared to stop them. When Chen Fenglai left, he still couldn't forget about going to Bermuda. "Brother Lin, I'll come to you when you've rested enough. There are indeed many treasures in Bermuda. One of them is the cloud contact vine. The fruit on it is very beneficial to the cultivation of warriors. It bears fruit once every 100 years. In a few months it will bear fruit. We can't miss it." Hearing Chen Fenglai mention the cloud contact vine, Lin Zhen had a vague impression of it. However, he couldn't even get close to such a good thing in his previous life. He should go and see it in this life. He could still study it in a few months. Lin Zhen agreed. With Lin Zhen's guarantee, Chen Fenglai and Enbihui finally left with satisfaction. After seeing the two of them off, Lin Zhen's mind moved. Xiaonuan appeared in the yard. Facing this big guy that had grown to more than 10 meters long, Lin Zhen felt a little helpless. It was a little too big to fit in the room. "Can't you shrink a little?" Lin Zhen looked at Xiaonuan. Xiaonuan understood. The starlight on its body flowed, and under Lin Jun's gaze, it shrank to the size of a normal dog. Seeing Xiaonuan return to its Pekingese form, Lin Jun was very happy. The galactic beast could still control its body size. However, compared to before, Xiaonuan's aura had greatly increased. Even the masters of the meteor stage couldn't take advantage of Xiaonuan. As for those below the meteor stage, they were Xiaonuan's snack. When it grew a little more, it would probably eat those at the meteor stage. Lin Jun brought Xiaonuan into the house. Then, he informed the guards that he wouldn't be seeing anyone today. Lin Lia and his wife were chatting with their 2 daughters-in-law. When they saw Lin Jun bring Xiaonuan back, Li Qin said in surprise, "Xiaonuan is back. Old man, go and get it some food. Look at how thin it is." Lin Lia and his wife brought Xiaonuan to the kitchen. Only Lin Jun and the 2 girls were left in the house. And Ning stood up. "Hey! I'm a little tired. I'm going to rest. You can chat with Lin Jun for a while." Su Mingyue immediately stood up, her face burning. "Ning, you can chat with him. I'm going to take a shower." Ning looked at Su Mingyue. "You don't need to take a shower. You smell good enough, right, Lin Jun?" Lin Jun froze for a moment. This kind of question was really hard to answer. Ning smiled and turned to leave. In fact, according to Lin Jun's idea, it would be best if both of his girlfriends could accompany him. However, he knew that it was impossible now. He hadn't eaten either of them yet. Since Ning intended to create an opportunity for him and Yu, Lin Jun didn't hold back. He said to Su Mingyue, "Yu, I've repaired the stargazing mirror." "Really?" Su Mingyue's beautiful eyes suddenly showed surprise. She didn't expect Lin Jun to be able to do this kind of thing. "Of course it's true. Let's go. I'll take you to my room." Su Mingyue didn't notice Lin Jun's big bad wolf tail at all. She excitedly followed Lin Jun to his room. Lin Jun sat on the bed and took out the stargazing mirror from his interspatial ring. Su Mingyue ran over and picked it up and looked at it repeatedly. She even looked up at the starry sky. When she found that it was really repaired, she couldn't help but excitedly hug Lin Jun and kiss him on the cheek. Su Mingyue had always remembered her master Gong Sun Du's words. If Lin Jun didn't repair the stargazing mirror, he couldn't take Su Mingyue away. Although Lin Jun's strength today was above Gong Sun Du's, Su Mingyue didn't want to violate the original agreement. She didn't expect Lin Jun to really do it. It could be seen how much this man cared about her and how serious he was. After kissing Lin Jun, Su Mingyue revealed a bright smile. Her beauty was soul-stirring. This isn't enough," Lin Jun's voice was slightly hoarse. The beauty in front of him was as beautiful as a flower. Divine Sex Holy Maiden was the most outstanding woman. She was also his girlfriend. How could he not be moved? Su Mingyue hesitated. In front of her was her beloved man. She also missed him a lot. Finally, she lowered her head and wanted to kiss Lin Jun's lips. Just as their lips touched, Su Mingyue was fiercely embraced by Lin Jun. Ugh! In the next moment, Su Mingyue had already fallen onto the bed. Her pink lips were separated. Lin Jun's large mouth covered her small cherry mouth. His tongue had already broken through her teeth and entered. Lin Jun's tongue wreaked havoc in her mouth. It searched for her small tongue and rolled it over. A strong masculine scent assaulted her and filled her body and mind. Su Mingyue's heart immediately panicked. Her brain buzzed and her consciousness was in chaos. The young girl couldn't stop her lover's passionate attack. Many things were self-taught. Lin Jun's hand nimbly undid Su Mingyue's long dress and pressed it against her flat stomach. The skin in his hand was unbelievably smooth. The soft and smooth feeling made Lin Jun have the urge to take a bite. Su Mingyue uneasily twisted in Lin Jun's arms. Her long eyelashes moved rhythmically and her face was crimson red. It showed that her master's heart was extremely uneasy. Lin Jun lowered his head and kissed Su Mingyue's swan-like neck and white jade-like face like raindrop. When her red transparent earlobe was sucked by Lin Jun, Su Mingyue's hands were already limp and she couldn't say a word. Su Mingyue was intoxicated by the tender affection. She didn't notice that Lin Zhen's large hand had already moved up. Lin Zhen's smooth undergarments were pushed up by Lin Zhen's hands, and a white jade peak finally landed in his hands. Lin Zhen missed her too much. When they were at the star fruit tree, Lin Zhen used his night vision ability to secretly spy on her. At that time, he knew how good Su Mingyue's figure was. Perfectly round, snow-white, elastic, and straight. On her delicate skin, 2 light pink dots stood out. Lin Zhen had personally seen Su Mingyue's entire body. Other than her obsidian eyes, only her waterfall-like long hair, eyebrows, and eyelashes were dark. Other than these places, Su Mingyue's entire body didn't have a single dark color. Her lips were a fresh pink and so were the other places. Trembling as the treasure entered his hand, Su Mingyue let out an embarrassing moan. She buried her head in Lin Zhen's embrace. His 10 fingers pressed down and were flicked up. The delicate touch and faint fragrance filled his vision and smell. His fingers were like magicians. Every time the tip brushed past, Su Mingyue would let out an intoxicating moan. It was like the most beautiful music in the world. The divine sect Holy Maiden, revered by tens of thousands of people, gently twisted in Lin Zhen's embrace. The feeling of electricity made her entire body go limp. When Lin Zhen lowered his head and buried it in Su Mingyue's chest, a warm feeling enveloped her sensitive area. Su Mingyue raised her head high and her starry eyes were in a daze. A beautiful voice came out of her throat uncontrollably. Her white jade-like hands hurriedly pushed Lin Zhen's chest. She was truly a bit scared. Although she loved Lin Zhen, she really wasn't prepared to do such a thing. Immovable mountain. With a thought, Lin Zhen released the immovable mountain martial technique. His entire body was like a mountain pressing down on Su Mingyue's body. Instantly, her resistance was useless. Lin Zhen, you're shameless. She didn't think that Lin Zhen would use such a powerful martial technique to suppress her. Su Mingyue's heart was both embarrassed and angry. Her voice was soft and gentle, making Lin Zhen's blood boil. He wanted nothing more than to rub this beautiful girlfriend into his bones. Chapter 369. Su Mingyue still maintained a clear mind. When Lin Zhen's hand slid down from her lower abdomen, Su Mingyue grabbed Lin Zhen's hand. Lin Zhen, don't you want to give it to me? Su Mingyue shook her head slightly, her eyes full of love. It's not that you doesn't want to give it to you, but it's not fair to a Ning's sister. Lin Zhen's heart calmed down a little. He wanted you but he also wanted a Ning. Presumably, a Ning didn't feel good about creating an opportunity for him and you. He nodded a little gloomily. Okay, wait until you marry me. Su Mingyue wrapped her jade arms around Lin Zhen's neck. You're so nice. What's so nice about it? I'm not nice at all. Lin Zhen bent down a little uncomfortably. His pants were about to burst. Su Mingyue lowered her head and glanced. Her face was so red that it was about to burn. Then what should I do? Lin Zhen rolled his eyes. I can teach you this. That night, although Lin Zhen didn't eat you in the end, Su Mingyue didn't fall asleep until the middle of the night. Her wrists were tired and sore, and the marks left on her chest were wiped away by Lin Zhen. The next day, a Ning saw Su Mingyue, a trace of relief in her eyes. Lin Zhen didn't do the last step with Su Mingyue, which made her feel a little better. Lin Zhen wouldn't neglect a Ning. The next night, he almost did the same thing as a Ning. With the company of these 2 girlfriends, Lin Zhen felt that half of his life was complete. What was left was for him to pursue greater strength and maintain this happiness so that it would not be destroyed by anyone or any power. Lin Zhen entered the most leisurely period of time since his rebirth. During this period of time, Lin Zhen served as the family's martial arts instructor. Now, Yu and a Ning were both at the peak of the quasi-star realm. Yu had grasped the atom of light, while a Ning had also resonated with the atom of water. Both girlfriends were very outstanding. Lin Zhen and Li Qin made faster progress due to their low realms. Under Lin Zhen's intensive training, they finally made a breakthrough in a month and entered the warlord stage one after another. However, their advancement was all due to Lin Zhen's resources. They didn't have any outstanding martial arts techniques, nor did they control any elemental energy. Their combat ability was still relatively weak. During this period of time, Lin Zhen had also met many people. His old friends had all come to see him. Now, Lin Zhen was already a flag-bearer in China. He was the youngest expert on the Heavenly Stars list in history and a national hero. A lot of titles and honors had been added to Lin Zhen's shoulders, making him feel a heavy pressure. Lin Zhen's extraterrestrial theory had been spread in a small area. Some people chose to believe Lin Zhen's words and worked harder to cultivate. Some people were watching, and some didn't care. Lin Zhen wouldn't forcibly spread the news about the extraterrestrial civilization. There were many things that couldn't be explained in detail. Success was always left to those who were prepared. He didn't have the obligation to save everyone. In addition to his own cultivation, he focused on the breakthroughs of his two girlfriends. He hoped that Yu Er and Ning could enter the quasi-star realm in a short time. Strictly speaking, these two girlfriends were very outstanding geniuses and had a lot of training value. During this period, Lin Zhen accompanied Ning to the Yin family. It was considered an official meeting with the parents. With Bihuai's words and Lin Zhen's current status and strength, the Yin family had no reason to refuse. In addition, Lin Zhen also went to the Church of God's Grace in the capital Bay City to see Gongsun Du. Gongsun Du had lost his arm in the battle with Yan Huang, but he had also grasped the light atom. Lin Zhen lent him the star crown, allowing his arm to recover. Originally, Lin Zhen had planned to give the star crown and light fiend to Su Mingyue, but Su Mingyue still hoped that Lin Zhen could also grasp the power of atoms. These two things were also very beneficial to Lin Zhen. During this period, Su Mingyue often stayed with Lin Zhen, helping him resonate with the light atom. Lin Zhen didn't let Su Mingyue down and finally succeeded in resonating with the light atom. After resonating, Lin Zhen finally had the first elemental energy that he had completely grasped. In the dark star, sunlight, starlight, and moonlight all changed the moment he resonated with the light atom. They became like the three types of light in the normal world. The sunlight was hot, the moonlight was soft, and the starlight was bright. Lin Zhen could finally use the star crown and light fiend. After losing the liquid metal, Lin Zhen often found it inconvenient. Light fiend was very useful. As for the star crown, Lin Zhen didn't plan to keep it around. He wanted to use it at a critical moment. After Gongsun Du saw Lin Zhen bring the astral observation mirror, he didn't say anything else. He only asked Lin Zhen to treat Su Mingyue well. After his arm recovered, Gongsun Du simply left the Church of God's Grace. He said that he wanted to find a place to meditate. Now that the Church of God's Grace was going to be demolished, there was no longer any meaning for him to be the Grand Divinity sect. During this period of time, another big thing happened. The sea monsters in the ocean began to evolve rapidly. The weak were prey to the strong, and low-level sea monsters were basically nowhere to be seen. No one knew what kind of hormones they took, but these sea monsters became more and more powerful. After a few months, the coastal cities began to be attacked by sea monsters. There were no sea monsters below S-class. The lowest level sea monsters were S-class. They moved along the river in groups and began to attack coastal cities. For example, Huaxia's Shanghai city was the focus of the sea monsters' attack. The sea monsters moved along the Yangtze River. Originally, Shanghai city's new location had been moved hundreds of kilometers away from the coast in order to defend against the mutated sea monsters. However, they still couldn't avoid the attack. Shanghai city's defense was in a state of emergency. Thanks to the emergency support of the World War God Alliance, Shanghai City wasn't destroyed by the first wave of sea monsters. Other than Shanghai City, for example Brazil, the sea monsters wandered along the Amazon River. The area within a few hundred kilometers of the river had become a forbidden area. Brazilians began to move inland on a large scale. The European Union situation wasn't very good either. The sea monsters in the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, and the Black Sea were rampant. People had to give up a lot of coastal land and began to shrink inland. It was the same in America. A large number of sea monsters appeared on the West Coast. The situation in Los Angeles Bay City was not optimistic. Huaxia offered support to America, but the mayor of Los Angeles Bay City was a narrow-minded nationalist. He looked down on people of other races and refused the protection of the World War God Alliance. He claimed that America's technology was enough to deal with this crisis. However, when faced with the sea monsters, the situation in every base city was not good. The threat of the mutated sea monsters, which had been ignored by people, reappeared. This time, it seemed to be even more ferocious. Lin Zhen did not participate in the defense of Shanghai City. He really felt that he needed to rest for a while. Moreover, no one in Huaxia asked Lin Zhen to fight. If Lin Zhen had to be troubled by a monster attack, then the others would be too useless. It wasn't until Lin Zhen rested at home for 5 months that the situation worsened. In America, a huge octopus monster appeared from the deep sea. This guy's level exceeded the limit of the highest level of SSS Mutant Beast and became a Beast King. Every tentacle of this Beast King level octopus was hundreds of meters long. Under its leadership, Los Angeles Bay City and 3 satellite cities were captured in a day. Tens of millions of people died in this battle. The World War God Alliance wanted to provide support, but the mayor of Los Angeles refused. When he felt that he could not hold on any longer, he asked for help. Unfortunately, it was too late. That octopus monster wasn't something that could be resisted by humans. No modern weapon could harm it. Even a Star Realm warrior would be easily swallowed by it. Los Angeles fell just like that. It was a large base city, and its fall was a huge loss to mankind. This was something that had never happened to Lin Zhen in his previous life. In his memory, the highest level of mutant beast on Earth was SSS. There had never been a Beast King. However, there was one this time. Lin Zhen could not find the answer. Coincidentally, in Russia, a huge King Kong crab appeared in the Arctic Ocean. It was also a Beast King-level sea monster. It led a large group of high-level sea monsters to attack Russia's St. Petersburg base city. Initially, Russia wanted to send reinforcements to the United States and even sent a large number of experts to the Western Hemisphere. However, at this time, St. Petersburg was ambushed. Under the leadership of the Beast King, the Beast King landed from the cold Arctic Ocean and swept through St. Petersburg within an hour. The status of St. Petersburg and Los Angeles was almost equivalent to the status of Beijing or Shanghai in China. Such a large base city had fallen just like that. It was unacceptable. Almost 1/10 of Earth's population had decreased. Almost all the countries around the world issued warnings at the same time. The war between humans and mutant beasts had reached a critical stage. The appearance of a Beast King-level sea monster meant that mankind was likely to be wiped out. Lin Zhen saw these 2 pieces of news at home and could not help but ponder. Sea monsters would never evolve for no reason. Such a thing didn't happen in his previous life. The reason for evolution has never been stopped by countries around the world. The conclusion is that a new component was injected into the seawater, which can help mutant beasts grow. However, the specific data has not been studied yet. However, in Lin Zhen's opinion, this should be the doing of the 2 guys from the Sky River Empire. They want to use this method to weaken the strength of mankind, pave the way for their army to arrive in advance, and prepare for their conquest plan. Promoting the growth of mutant beasts is not a difficult thing for an extraterrestrial civilization. If this continues, the coastal cities of various countries around the world will be in danger. Chapter 370. Lin Zhen was floating in the sky on a quiet night. The thunder-light wings on his back flapped gently, causing specks of light to scatter in the night sky like fireflies. After resonating with the light atoms with Su Mingyue's help, Lin Zhen's greatest benefit was a substantial increase in his speed. Lin Zhen's original speed had already reached 5 times the speed of sound. After 5 months of nurturing, the thunder light wings had already reached 8 times the speed of sound. During these 5 months, Lin Zhen hadn't been idle. Besides spending time with his family, he had used the rest of his time to cultivate his Dantian Qi and telekinesis. He hadn't focused on cultivating his Dantian Qi. After 5 months, he had reached the peak of the quasi-star grade and was only a hair away from breaking through. Lin Zhen had been deliberately suppressing the advancement of his Dantian Qi. As a martialist, the most important thing was to advance the main cultivation system. Even the dark star in Lin Zhen's Dantian couldn't replace the importance of the main cultivation system. Lin Zhen's Dantian Qi had been compressed 10 times, so the huge cyclone in his body was 10 times larger than that of an uncompressed quasi-star grade martialist. This huge potential meant that, if his Dantian Qi broke through, he would definitely become a super star grade warrior. The reason Lin Zhen hadn't broken through to the star grade was because he had always been worried. When the black hole appeared in the future, what kind of power would he use to resist it? This was a question that had been troubling Lin Zhen for a long time. He needed to have the absolute ability to escape from the black hole. As for how to escape, Lin Zhen already had a little plan in mind. First, he had to obtain the 5th meteorite in the 5 Dalian pools. The 5th meteorite was different from the previous 4. The Leonid meteor shower had originally been formed by a shattered planet. This meteorite was the planet's final core. There was no energy present in this core, but this meteorite had recorded the entire process of the planet's birth and destruction. It could be said that this 5th meteorite was a witness to the planet's growth. In his previous life, after the extraterrestrial civilization had obtained this meteorite 500 years ago, Lin Zhen had discovered its use by chance. Not all planets had a final core. The probability of producing such a core was only 1 in a million. And once it was produced, this kind of core had a huge use, which was that it contained the power of time. If a martial artist could obtain this core and comprehend it, they would be able to form a powerful combat technique, time acceleration. Lin Zhen knew very well that among all the energies he possessed, whether it was wind, fire, light, or lightning, none of them could compare to the power of space. Above the power of space was the power of time. In his previous life, he had heard all sorts of legends about super experts in the universe. However, only those who could control the power of time were truly strong. The reason why Lin Zhen hadn't gone to the 5th Rui Lake's meteorite was because he felt that it was impossible for him to comprehend the Time Stone, which was the final core of the Rui Lake. Secondly, he wasn't confident that he could defeat the Rui Lake's water monster. The Rui Lake has never been successfully explored by humans. Only extraterrestrial civilizations can develop it, but even the people of the Sky River Empire suffered heavy losses in the process of exploring the Rui Lake. This was because the monsters in the Rui Lake were all SSS level. Lin Zhen believed that with his current strength, he should be able to fight a single SSS level monster, but in the Rui Lake, there were 10 SSS level monsters. Moreover, this was something that Lin Zhen had only heard about. He hadn't seen it with his own eyes, so he hadn't set off for the Rui Lake yet. In the past 5 months, he has been preparing for his trip to the Rui Lake. After his Dantian reached the peak of the quasi-star realm, he focused on cultivating his spiritual force. After several months of hard work, Lin Zhen's spiritual force was finally on the verge of a breakthrough. In his spiritual sea, Lin Zhen's spiritual force was growing stronger and stronger. Among them, the diamond petrification spiritual force was about to reach 60%. As long as the diamond petrification spiritual force reaches 60%, it means that Lin Zhen's spiritual force will enter the late diamond realm. The 7 7-star daggers kept circling around Lin Zhen. Sometimes, when Lin Zhen increased the strength of his spiritual force, the flying daggers would even cause some spatial cracks to appear in the air. It was midnight and the stars were shining brightly. After Lin Zhen cultivated once, his body suddenly soared tens of thousands of meters into the sky. The whistling wind blew past him. Lin Zhen controlled the 7 flying daggers to fly into the distance at a speed faster than a bullet. He relied on his spiritual force to control the daggers and train his spiritual force. The further he could make the flying daggers fly, the stronger his spiritual force would be. This time, Lin Zhen's 7-star daggers flew hundreds of miles. His consciousness could vaguely sense the position of the 7-star daggers. This was practically the maximum distance that Lin Zhen could control the daggers. Go a little further. Under the pressure of extreme pressure, his spiritual force finally made a breakthrough. His diamond petrification power increased once again and finally exceeded 60% in Lin Zhen's mind. At this moment, Lin Zhen's spiritual vision expanded again. Wherever the flying daggers passed, they were all within his field of vision. Return. With a thought, the flying daggers returned from hundreds of miles away in the blink of an eye and were directly stored in the dark star space by Lin Zhen. Only in the dark star could these 7 flying daggers be constantly refined by elemental power. Now that they had been tempered by Lin Zhen, the 7-star daggers had reached the level of a middle-grade sacred artifact. Among them, the gold Qi 7-star daggers had the sharpness of a high-grade sacred artifact after being infused with gold Qi. As for the glorious 7-star daggers, because Lin Zhen had resonated with the light atoms, it was already a high-grade sacred artifact. Looking at his spiritual force that had made another breakthrough, Lin Zhen was secretly delighted. I finally broke through. It's been 5 months and my spiritual force has finally reached the late diamond realm. I wonder what stage it will be if I break through to the diamond realm again? However, with my current strength, the late diamond realm should be the peak on Earth. I estimate that the strongest spiritual force on Earth will definitely not surpass the diamond realm. There are probably only a few people who can stand shoulder to shoulder with me. Lin Zhen's body slowly descended from the sky and landed on the ground, landing on the balcony of his villa. Su Mingyue and An Ning were not by Lin Zhen's side at the moment. They both had their own cultivation paths. These 2 girls had now both broken through to the star realm. On the surface, their strength was even above Lin Zhen's. Lin Zhen knew where they were cultivating and was not worried about their safety. These 2 girls had both compressed the 9 layers of Dantian Qi. Lin Zhen could boast that even an early or middle stage meteor stage expert would not necessarily be able to win against them. After entering the room, his phone rang. The call was from Chen Fenglai. Lin Zhen picked up the call. Chen Fenglai said to Lin Zhen, "Brother Lin, are you still at home?" "Yes, I'm at home." "I say, you can really keep your composure. Mutated beasts are running rampant now and the world is in danger. Why don't you hurry out of the mountain?" Lin Zhen sat on the sofa. "Why should I be in a hurry? I'm not the only expert in the world. Besides, St. Petersburg and Los Angeles have been destroyed. Don't those 2 countries have the heavenly star list? Why should I go out and help? Meddling in other people's business?" Chen Fenglai laughed on the other side of the phone. "You're right. We have no obligation to help other countries get through the crisis. However, Brother Lin, the current situation is really not good." "How is it not good? Do you know? The mutated beasts in the ocean are getting stronger and stronger. According to my investigation, the origin of these mutated beasts is in the Bermuda Sea." "Brother Chen, are you trying to trick me into going to the Bermuda Sea again?" "I'm not trying to trick you. You can check the website of the Ministry of Science and Technology. The Ministry of Science and Technology's investigation has already yielded result. The change in the water quality of the Bermuda Sea is the main reason for the mutation of the sea monsters. The beast kings that attacked St. Petersburg and Los Angeles all came from the Bermuda Sea. If they are not eliminated as soon as possible, the world will be in danger. You are a great hero of our country, just like Ultraman in the Christian calendar. The world is waiting for you to save it. Lin Jun laughed. Brother Chun, don't worry about the country and the people. Just tell us what your purpose is. We all know that no one is a hero or a savior. Then I'll say it. The cloud contact vine in the Bermuda Sea has begun to bear fruit again. The cloud contact fruit has always been fought for by the experts on the heavenly star list. Currently, there are only 2 people in our country, and Bihuai and I, Yen Chia and Qing Su, are nowhere to be found. We are weak and will definitely be at a disadvantage when fighting for the fruit. Therefore, you have to go with us. Lin Jun had long been familiar with the names of the people on the heavenly star list. The first on the heavenly star list was Yen Chia from Huaxia. The second was Carter from the European Union. The third was Russia's Frost Emperor. The fourth was America's Black Tyrant. The fifth was still Huaxia's Qing Su. This person was also a Taoist. And Bihuai was 10th, Chun Fenglai was 17th, and Lin Jun was 18th. If Yen Chia and Qing Su were included, Huaxia would naturally be first. If they were not included and Lin Jun did not go, and Bihuai and Chun Fenglai would indeed be in a bit of trouble. Chun Fenglai was still trying to persuade Lin Jun. Brother Lin, I think we have to go this time. The cloud contact fruit contains elemental energy. Didn't you resonate with several energy elements? You can use this opportunity to grow stronger. Also, the aliens you mentioned are probably in the Bermuda Sea. Even if they are not, we can kill some SSS-level mutant beasts or join forces to kill a Beast King. Not only can we get rid of evil for the people, but we can also make a fortune. How can we miss such a good opportunity? When do we leave? Lin Jun asked. We are just waiting for you. If you decide, we will leave in 3 days. Chapter 371. Lin Jun hung up the call with Chun Fenglai and went downstairs. His parents were playing with Xiao Nuan. Lin Jun was going to take Xiao Nuan with him this time, but he couldn't relax too much about the safety of the house. He called Baho. 2 hours later, Baho arrived at Ice City from Iceland. With this super expert in charge, there was no need to worry about the safety of the house. After saying goodbye to his parents, Lin Jun left Ice City and went to Wadalian Lake. Lin Jun had agreed to meet Chun Fenglai in 3 days. He had to get the time meteorite within 3 days to avoid any unexpected problems. Lin Jun put on the Chun fan mask when he went out. If it wasn't necessary, he didn't want to show his real face. After all, it could be said that everyone in the world, except for the blind, could recognize him. It was really inconvenient to go out with his real face. The aircraft he took was Xu Mingxuan's small house aircraft. This aircraft's performance was indeed top-notch. It was much better than the Black Ghost on Earth. In a short while, he arrived at Wadalian Lake. As Wadalian Lake was rich in mutant beast crystals, this was the area where warlords were active. After Lin Jun paid the entrance fee, he walked into the smoke-filled area again. There were many warlords hunting mutant beasts in Wadalian Lake. On the way, some people even invited Lin Jun to hunt with them. After all, on the surface, Lin Jun was already an expert at the Star State. Lin Jun rejected them all. He walked at a moderate pace until he reached the edge of Bailong Lake. There was a thick poisonous fog around Bailong Lake. It was a natural barrier. People who weren't skilled couldn't pass through the poisonous fog. When he arrived at the edge of the poisonous fog, Lin Jun saw that many people had gathered here. Lin Jun walked over and saw a huge stone tablet. On it was written, "Where national hero Lin Jun killed Yu Zhenhua." Many people were taking photos here, and some people were bragging about how Lin Jun had shown his great power and beaten Yu Zhenhua so badly that he pissed his pants. Lin Jun glanced at it. His heroic deeds weren't glorious. To put it bluntly, it was just a battle between martial artists. If he won, he would be a hero, while the loser would be consigned to eternal damnation. Lin Zhen took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention and directly entered the poisonous fog area. He had a physique that made him immune to poison, so he wasn't afraid of the poison's invasion. After arriving at the poisonous fog, Lin Zhen continuously teleported through the poisonous fog. He then crossed Crane Lake and arrived at the edge of Ri Lake. This was the last lake in the Wadalian Pond. It was said that there were 10 SSS-level mutant beasts inside. Lin Zhen did not dare to be careless. He first released Xiaonuan, and then observed the environment. The surface of the Ri Lake was as if it was dead. There was not a single ripple on the surface. The trees on the shore were all withered. It felt as if there was no life in this place. Where are those SSS-level mutant beasts? Lin Zhen looked at Xiaonuan, only to see Xiaonuan crawling on the shore. The hair all over his body stood up, and he stared straight ahead. He obviously felt the danger ahead. Lin Zhen slowly closed his eyes, released his spiritual force, and began to scan the mirror-like lake. 10 minutes later, he had his first harvest. There was a little movement on a huge dark rock on the shore. It was not a rock, but a snapping turtle comparable to a small mountain. It was more than 5 meters tall and almost 20 meters in diameter. It was crawling there motionless. If one didn't pay special attention, one wouldn't think that this thing was a mutant beast. My goodness, this thing's turtle shell is simply invulnerable. It's definitely not easy to deal with. Lin Zhen was not in a hurry to make a move. He continued to observe on the shore. About an hour later, Lin Zhen found 3 mutant beasts one after another. In addition to the snapping turtle, there was also a huge spider in the dead forest, and a 30-meter-long giant lizard on the rock. In addition, on the surface of the water, there was something that looked like a piece of rotten wood. It was a huge mutant venomous snake. After finding the target, Lin Zhen was ready to make a move. His first target was the giant lizard on the rock. Lin Zhen's first move was a ray of gold qi. With a raise of his finger, the gold qi shot out and hit the giant lizard from afar, making a small hole in its body. The giant lizard felt the pain, but Lin Zhen was better at hiding. It didn't notice. Instead, it came down from the rock and walked over shakily. Every time the giant lizard walked for a while and didn't find anything and wanted to go back, Lin Zhen would shoot out a ray of light, hitting the giant lizard until it felt a slight pain. This big guy was slowly lured to the edge of Ri Lake. Just like that, the giant lizard was led by Lin Zhen all the way to the edge of Crane Lake. It was time to make a move. Lin Zhen's dark star revolved and the gravitational force suddenly erupted. The giant lizard's huge body couldn't resist the powerful gravitational force of the dark star and was pulled into the air. Spatial rift. The spatial rift appeared in the path of the giant lizard. The giant lizard's huge body couldn't dodge, and its 7 to 8 meter long tail was directly cut off. The giant lizard violently twisted and spat out a mouthful of black liquid at Lin Zhen. Lin Zhen's mental power barrier opened up, and another spatial crack appeared. The mental power barrier instantly melted, but Lin Zhen's fiendish light continued to block the liquid spat out by the giant lizard. The spatial rift also took the opportunity to cut off one of the giant lizard's forelimbs. After losing its forelimbs and tail, the giant lizard fell heavily to the ground. Lin Zhen waved his yin-yang spear and teleported above the giant lizard. Piercing shot. The spear firmly nailed the giant lizard's mouth together. Xiaonuan pounced from behind and tore at the giant lizard's wound. Lin Zhen turned the fiendish light into a long saber and began to attack the giant lizard fiercely. The giant lizard used its remaining front claw to knock away Lin Zhen's spear and roared as it pounced at Lin Zhen. When the fiendish light and the giant lizard's front claw came into contact, Lin Zhen was swatted away like a fly. Fortunately, he was in the air and Lin Zhen didn't suffer too much damage. He immediately turned around and charged back. When the giant lizard bit at him again, Lin Zhen knew that he couldn't take it head-on. He teleported to the side and slashed out over 100 times with the fiendish light, all at the same spot. The giant lizard was heavily injured and turned around to bite Xiao Nuan. Xiao Nuan didn't fight head-on with the giant lizard. Instead, he used his speed to quickly circle around the giant lizard. The three-legged giant lizard couldn't catch the elusive Xiao Nuan. Lin Jun and Xiao Nuan cooperated and attacked the giant lizard whenever they found an opportunity. However, it was still heavily injured. Lin Jun's current mental power was incomparably strong. He teleported one after another, and each attack dealt damage to the giant lizard. After an hour of battle, the giant lizard finally fell under Lin Jun's spear. Phew! This thing's speed and strength are simply abnormal. If I didn't have the powerful gravity of the Dark Star, I would have heavily injured it in the first attack. It would have been too difficult to win. After this battle, Lin Jun finally knew that he could defeat an SSS rank mutated beast. As long as he didn't attract two at once, he could definitely win. Lin Jun calculated the time. If everything went smoothly, he would be able to clear out the 10 mutated beasts in 3 days and rush to the Bermuda Sea. The Bermuda Sea. This was a mysterious place during the Christian era. Countless airplanes and ships sank and disappeared here. People explored it many times, but they couldn't find the answer. It could even be said that they didn't find anything. It was only after the God transformation era that the answer was gradually revealed. Or it could be said that it was only revealed to a small circle, only among the top martial artists. At the bottom of the Bermuda Sea there was a huge plant growing. This plant was called the clowscraper vine. Its diameter was several kilometers, and its length was immeasurable. The first person to discover it was China's war god, Yanqie. When Yanqie discovered the clowscraper vine, it was already 100 meters above the sea surface. The clowscraper vine gathered energy at the bottom of the sea, fermenting all kinds of elemental fruits. It bore fruit once every 100 years, and if a martial artist ate it, not only would it strengthen their elemental energy, but it would also greatly increase their astral power. This energy formed a storm that interfered with the operation of all modern transportation. It could be said that it was the main culprit behind the sinking of airplanes and ships. Every 100 years, the experts of the Heavenly Star ranking would gather in Bermuda. They would break the newly grown branches of the clowscraper vine and collect its fruit. They wouldn't let the clowscraper vine grow out of the sea to prevent it from being discovered and fought over. This was considered a secret between the Heavenly Star ranking. This year, another 100 years had passed, and the martial artists from China were Chen Fenglai and Enbihui. On the turbulent sea surface, a dozen people stood against the wind. Among them, the martial artists from America, Russia, and the European Union were the strongest. The European Union's Carter was the first saint of the divine sect. He had reached Wei Zhou's level and was the top expert present. The Frost Emperor of Russia and the Black Tyrant of America were also super experts who had reached the peak of the comet stage. The Heavenly Star ranking experts floated above the sea surface, and Chen Fenglai waited anxiously. Under the sea, the huge vine was spiraling upwards. When the vine came out of the sea surface and came into contact with the outside air, it would be the time for the elemental fruits to ripen. The Heavenly Star ranking experts didn't communicate with each other. They were all waiting for the elemental fruits to ripen and absorb them. "Brother Chen, are you sure Lin Jun will come?" He said he would definitely come. "Let's wait a little longer." The two of them kept looking back. After a while, a stream of light flashed across the horizon. "He's here." All the Heavenly Star ranking experts looked to the east and saw a huge metal wing behind the person. He was faster than a meteor, and with a few flaps, he was already in front of them. "I'm sorry, am I a little late?" Lin Jun also rushed over. An hour ago, he had obtained the last meteorite in Wadalian Pond, the Time Stone. He didn't have time to comprehend the mystery of the Time Stone and rushed to the Bermuda Sea. "You're not late. You came just in time." Chapter 372. People on the Heavenly Star list rarely fought each other to the death, unless there was a huge profit to be made. Lin Jun had been on the Heavenly Star list for a few days. The other Heavenly Star list masters only glanced at Lin Jun and then focused on the sea. Lin Jun had a deep impression of one of them. The man was wearing a white robe and had sharp blue eyes. He floated in the air, as if he was about to become one with the world. The man stared at Lin Jun for a long time. In the end, he even said, "The young man from Huaxia is really something. He destroyed the Star Sky sect. He's going to do great things." And Bihuai looked at the man in the white robe and said warily, "Kate, you're old. You don't want to make an enemy out of a young man because of the Star Sky sect, do you?" Lin Jun was alarmed when he heard the name. This was the first saint of the Star Sky sect. He seemed to be unhappy about the destruction of the Star Sky sect. Kate snorted. "I left the Star Sky sect hundreds of years ago. I have nothing to do with the mortal world. I won't take the initiative to cause trouble for him." And Bihuai was relieved when Kate added, "But that doesn't stop me from hating him. Lin Jun, I don't have a good impression of you." Chen Fenglai pulled Lin Jun to the side and said, "Lin Jun, you must be careful of this person. His strength is second only to Mr. Yanqie. You should know that Taoist priest Qing Su was ranked second on the Heavenly Star list, but he fell to fifth after being challenged by him. After that, Taoist priest Qing Su didn't challenge anyone and remained in fifth place." "He's in the Star Sky sect?" Lin Jun asked. "Yes. He's the first great divinity master of the Star Sky sect and the first saint. He won't take the initiative to cause trouble for you, but you should be careful while you're in the cloud contact vine." Lin Jun nodded. A Star Sky sect master was definitely one of the most powerful people on Earth. Lin Jun didn't want to provoke such a person unless it was necessary. Also, you have to be careful. People like the Frost Emperor of Russia, the Black Tyrant of America, and Gubod of India don't have good relationships with us. When the Cloud-scraper vine appears, we can go into the sea and collect the fruits we need. Don't collect too many, just absorb as many as you collect. These things can't be preserved, so don't fight with others. When one of us absorbs the fruit, the other two will guard him so that he won't be disturbed by others or mutated beasts." "Will this process take a long time?" Lin Jun asked. And Bihuai continued, "It will take a long time. We need to dive as deep as possible. You should know that the cloud contact vine takes root in the deep sea. The deeper we go, the more difficult it will be to harvest the fruit. This is because martial artists will have to withstand the pressure of the sea." Chen Fenglai said, "Yes. It's said that the deepest place in the sea is the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean. It's 11,000 meters deep. But that's the place that people have explored. In fact, the deepest place is in Bermuda. The cloud contact vine grows in the deep sea trench. There are the most elemental fruits there. Unfortunately, no one has been able to collect them." "How deep have you dived before?" Chen Fenglai shook his head. "I'm not that old. This is my first time here. Brother and has been here before. He can explain it to you." And Bihuai thought for a moment and said, "I've already come to Bermuda 4 times. The first time, I only dived 2,000 meters. The second time was better, I dived 3,000 meters. The third time was 4,000 meters. This time, I hope that I can dive 4,500 meters. I think that's my current limit." Chen Fenglai said, "Like Lin Jun, this is my first time here. My goal this time is 3,500 meters. I'm afraid I'll exceed my limit if I go any further." "Will this diving process take a long time?" "Yes. We need to adapt to the water pressure of the sea, fight with the mutant beasts, and absorb the fruit. It might take a year or 2, but it won't take more than 1,000 days. This kind of fruit can only survive in the sea for 1,000 days. If we leave the sea midway and come into contact with the aura outside of Bermuda, we won't be able to absorb it when we come back. So we have to stay here until we've absorbed enough elemental fruit." Lin Jun nodded. It turned out that to collect the fruits, they had to dive deep into the sea. The deeper they went, the greater the harvest. He didn't know how deep he could go, but he would definitely do his best. After waiting for a while, a green spot appeared on the turbulent sea surface. The cloud contact vine had come out to sea. The fruit had ripened. The ripening of the fruit not only attracted the experts on the heavenly star list, but also some huge sea monsters. Those Beast King level sea monsters were also attracted by the cloud contact vine. As soon as the green spot appeared, Chen Fenglai immediately pulled Lin Jun. Time's up. We can go down now. The three of them immediately dove down and rushed into the sea. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. No one knew where Lin Jun and the rest of the Heavenly Star List experts had gone, but they knew that those Beast King level sea monsters had disappeared. Time passed slowly and a lot of changes had happened on Earth. Half a year later, the European Union government announced that a new type of spaceship had been successfully developed and had successfully sailed in space. A year later, the Chinese government had developed a new type of railgun that could be used for space combat. Other than technology, the strength of the martial artists on Earth had also increased by leaps and bounds in these 2 years. On the Chinese side, many experts had made breakthroughs during this period. First, Gongsun Du had reached the first place on the Dark Star list, and his strength had also reached the level of Comet Zhou. Jin Qichao, Shang Jin, Luo Yun, and Dongfang Jun were all at the top of the Dark Star list. As for the younger generation, Feng Enai, Tang Wenba, Dolong, and Xian Ruhai had also entered the Star Realm. The two girls, Su Mingyue and Ning, had joined forces to kill an SSS-grade mutated beast during the Shanghai Defense War. They had become the idols of the Chinese female martial artists. On the other hand, martial artists from other countries had also made breakthroughs. This was the golden age of cultivation. A year and a half later, the Heavenly Star List experts had finally appeared. Chen Fenglai had returned to China. When he came back, he also brought news of the Bermuda Sea. The Heavenly Star List experts were at the bottom of the Bermuda Sea, fighting with high-level mutated beasts to pick the clowscraper vine fruit. In the beginning, everyone was able to pick the fruit, but as they dived deeper and deeper, some people could not hold on any longer. When Chen Fenglai left, he had successfully dived to a depth of 4,800 meters. At this time, there were only 10 people left at the bottom of the sea. And Bihuai and Lin Jun were still in the Bermuda Sea. A year and 8 months later, Bihuai returned, and there were only 6 people left at the bottom of the sea. And Bihuai's results were not bad this time. He had dived to a depth of 5,600 meters and had successfully resonated with his elemental energy. The main purpose of his return was to break through to the comet stage in one fell swoop. After that, the Heavenly Star List experts left the Bermuda Sea one after another. Those who left had all picked the clowscraper vine fruit and absorbed the elemental energy until they were saturated. A total of 16 Heavenly Star List experts had entered the Bermuda Sea. A year and 10 months later, there were only 4 people left. A year and 9 months later, the Black Tyrant of America left the Bermuda Sea. He said angrily, "Those who are still in there at this time are all crazy, especially Lin Jun from China. That kid is simply a monster." He had already dived to a depth of 5,500 meters and finally could not withstand the huge water pressure of the deep sea and had to leave. However, there were still 3 people left. There were no more fruits above 5,500 meters. If they wanted to get the fruit, they would have to continue going deeper. This was not something that could be done by diving. The fruits had to be absorbed immediately, so the pressure was not something that humans could withstand. A year and 10 months later, the Frost Emperor of Russia also returned from the deep sea. This time, he had reached a depth of 6,000 meters, but he could not hold on any longer. When he came out, he told everyone that Lin Jun and Carter were still in the deep sea. Everyone was speculating about who would last longer in the Bermuda Sea, Lin Jun or Carter. Most people believed that Carter would last longer, because he was an expert in the satellite stage. The satellite stage belonged to the third stage of the eternal realm, which was a completely different concept from the third stage of the star realm. This proved that the planet within this person's body was stable and his strength was greater. Lin Zhen's cultivation level had always been a mystery. However, judging by Lin Zhen's age, it was impossible for him to be compared to Carter. When people were cultivating, they would often mention this matter during their leisure time, hoping to see the results as soon as possible. It was only after a year and 11 months that Carter finally left the Bermuda Sea. His diving score was 7,500 meters. He could no longer go any further. According to the news he had brought, Lin Zhen was still trying to dive deeper. No matter how unwilling he was, he had to admit that Lin Zhen was a genius. However, he was certain that Lin Zhen would definitely leave the Bermuda Sea within a month, and he would not go any further than 8,500 meters. When Yan Xie had dived in the past, his deepest dive had only been 8,500 meters. He had only lasted for 2 years, which was a little over 700 days. No matter how talented Lin Zhen was, he could not surpass Yan Xie's score. This was his opinion. People waited for the day Lin Zhen came out of the water. Some people even waited for Lin Zhen to come out of the water to interview him. However, another month passed, and Lin Zhen still did not appear. One had to know that even Yan Xie had only stayed in the Bermuda Sea for 2 years. Lin Zhen's score was already on par with his. 2 years and 1 month passed, and Lin Zhen still did not appear. 2 years and 3 months passed, and there was still no sign of Lin Zhen. It had been more than 800 days since he had entered the Bermuda Sea. After 2.5 years, more than 900 days had passed, and there was still no sign of Lin Zhen. At this time, people began to wonder if Lin Zhen had already come out and gone somewhere else to cultivate. Some people even suspected that Lin Zhen was dead. However, this opinion was not valid. Lin Zhen was still ranked 18th on the celestial star list. This proved that he was still alive. After 2 years and 7 months, people's discussion of whether or not Lin Zhen was still in the Bermuda Sea had ended. He was definitely not there. He was probably in an unknown location.